This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting held at 870 Colfax here in Benton Harbor. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to natalie.singer@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment section as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to natalie.singer@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:04 p.m. We'll begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Yeah, present.
Vice President Bowens,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, present. Treasurer Bradley, Trustee Rocket Martin,
Present.
Trustee Gavin,
Present.
Trustee Doyle.
Present.
Madam President, a quorum has been established.
All right, next we have approval of the agenda. You all will notice there's a closed session. That is the closed session that was attempted, I believe, May 12th, but we didn't have 5 people present. And then we have our training as well. It's an online training which was approved, CBA 227 Ethical Challenges. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
President Robinson,
You have the floor.
I would like to approve the agenda with an amendment to move curriculum and student support
So
service.
we can't hear.
I would like to approve the agenda with an amendment to move curriculum and student support services committee underneath policy and discipline committee.
I have no objections. Anyone support that? She just wants to put it prior to facility.
Support.
Second. Okay, the motion has been made by trustee Gavin to approve the agenda with a small amendment to move curriculum and student support services committee directly under policy committee. It has been supported by Secretary Triplett. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin, Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, up next, we have review of our Board of Education norms. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education norms, we will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. Up next, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone present for a public comment on an agenda item? Seeing none, we'll proceed. What will be prepared to vote on in our upcoming June meeting will be closed session minutes for 3/11/25, closed session minutes for 4/8/25, regular session for 5/13/25, special session for 5/17/25, and I also anticipate that we'll have our May 27th meeting minutes at that time as well. Please ensure that you all take a look at those. If you have any questions or amendments or corrections needed, feel free to get those to myself and Ms. Singer so we can ensure that they're ready for vote at our June board meeting. Reminder protocol as of 9/13/2022. All comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. Our first item of business under board business is a closed session. The Board of Education may hold a closed session to consider material such as written opinions of counsel, which are exempt from discussion by state or federal statute, policy reference 0167.2F. And we have an opinion of counsel from Troon Law Firm regarding some matters. You all attempted to have a closed session about this previously, but we didn't have 5 present. So I have it now. We have enough people present for this closed session. At this time, I'll ask, is there a motion to end open session and enter closed session per policy 0167.2?
Madam President,
you
I
have-
make a motion that we end the open session and go into closed session.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, so we are ending open session and entering closed session as of 6:09 PM. We'll be back briefly. All right, is there a motion to end closed session and return to open session?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I would like to make a motion to end closed session and return to closed session.
Return to open session.
Open session.
Is there a
support.
second? The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Bradley that we end closed session and return to open session. Questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Motion carried, Madam President.
Madam President,
Right. At this time, I'll ask, is there a motion to? Go ahead, Vice President Bowen.
go ahead.
Will you make a recommendations to the agenda?
Yes, Madam President,
Yes.
I would like for us to amend the agenda to remove policy and discipline committee readings, facility and finance operation committees, HR committee report, and, no, curriculum has a correct,
Is there anything that's urgent in finance and facilities that we need to see today?
I think we just got a big email about the layoff, well, not layoffs, but it was a lot in the email, right? For the budget. The budget?
Yeah, Alex. Life science, staff, creation, and elimination. That was nice to be voted on at the next meeting, but I wanted to review it tonight, to give everybody an opportunity.
We can leave that in.
To ask you questions, if we set up a small meeting between now and the next meeting, or we can get prepared. Or you can look it over and email the podium.
Okay, so if we didn't review it this evening, we could do the small groups?
Madam
Okay,
President,
I'd like to view it for the small meeting. Have time, or we can do it all in small, sometimes the small meetings are only 30 minutes, and we just have enough time. Clear, decide, so that when we come together next time, we can vote. Yes. Be able, because I'm kind of can't move forward with the completed budget until I know for sure on the creation and elimination.
okay, which item is that specifically that you want to review? Uh-huh.
Budget.
On our agenda, it had A, B, C, or D. Do you have our agenda in front of you?
It's within the length of the work session agenda is what she's saying. Okay,
A. That's what I was, yeah.
okay, okay. Bowens, you're trying to take off the second reading?
yes,
Okay.
and I wanted to ask the chair of curriculum, is there anything that she would like for us to discuss or we can withhold?
If possible, I would like to vote on the course guide update.
So, Madam President, can we remove A and B of curriculum and student support services?
And all of your new hires? All of staff report H1?
Yes, because we haven't had a committee for the recommendation meetings,
Okay.
so yeah,
And then can you include your amendment to include board motion 1?
Oh, President Robinson,
Yeah.
my apologies. I should have asked, Director Cups if there was anything pressing.
oh, sorry.
I recognize that we aren't supposed to vote on things at the work session, but if at all possible, it would be beneficial if we were able to vote on B and C as they are related to summer school, offering credit for students and additional devices for the credit recovery part of summer school.
So we need to, basically, we need to keep curriculum.
Yes, we'll keep
We
curriculum.
need to keep finance and facility committee work session presentation from Director Brock Carter. And then the new hires are just being presented tonight. We're not voting on any hires. We vote at the next meeting.
So what I have remaining on the agenda would be board business B, the Bearing Risa. Motion B1. We would have we would be removing policy and discipline under facilities and finance. We would have the work session agenda to look at the 25-26 budget. For curriculum and student support services, we would be taking vote on staff reports C1 and C2. And removing new hires and then proceeding with our training.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to amend the agenda as noted?
I so move.
Is there a second or support?
Second. And Madam President, are you gonna call for the vote, don't you?
Yeah. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes,
Trustee Doyle. Motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, we have the Bearing Risa biennial election candidate list.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion that we vote on the two candidates that we received because there's not any. Well, first, my first question is, at our last board meeting or the previous last board meeting, we asked for any information. Did they get back with the Madam Secretary, Natalie,
Ms. Singer?
Ms. Singer? Okay. Well, I make a motion that we go ahead and approve the only two. It's nobody else running. It's just those two. They're running unopposed for Bearing Risa election candidate list.
Hey, guys, give me one quick second. Ms. Singer, this isn't, that piece isn't in the packet, is it? I gotta get to.
It's on the back. Is it this?
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
It's in it.
So I'm gonna check and see if I have anything in email really quickly. Okay. So for,
Nothing, go ahead.
so I have an email from Daniel Buckenmeyer. In an upcoming board meeting, you'll discuss potential candidates for Bearing Risa. My name is Dan Buckenmeyer, and I would like to respectfully ask for your support. Attached is my resume for your reference. I welcome the opportunity to meet with you or your board in person if it is your desire or to answer any questions you may have of me. I lived in Berrien County for over 2 decades, had children, attended Berrien Springs, Bridgman, and Lakeshore schools, and currently reside on a small farm in Sawyer with my wife, 2 teenage sons, and 3 dogs. I first learned about the opportunity to run for Berrien Reese Board from business associates, etc. Education is an important part of my life, family lived experience. Regardless of our ages or ambitions, our dedication to hard work and scholastic achievement is evident. He's a proud and fortunate husband of a brilliant woman. He's gotten his educational experience, including a bachelor's degree from DePaul University, a master's degree in international business economics from Colloquy University, Leuven in Belgium, and an MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. He's also an economic development professional. And that's just skimming. And then the other person. She grew up in St. Joe, returned to Southwestern Michigan in 2020. Education has a special place in her heart. All 4 of her daughters work in childcare, special education, primary education, including one who is now a high school principal. Her mother also taught in St. Joe. She strongly believes education is the cornerstone of both strong communities and strong families. She's an urban planner and community development professional. She understands how vital educational institutions are in shaping the future. And if given the opportunity to serve, she would like to bring the Berrien Reese Board her experience in strategic planning, community development, workforce development, and real estate. All right. So at this time, resolution of Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education.
It's a lot to read.
Who is the representative? Is this Raquel Martin?
Yeah.
Okay, and who was the alternate? Was it Gavin? Who's the alternate this year?
I thought it was Mac. I'm not sure.
No, it was Gavin.
Oh, should be.
And we are organizational.
She repeated. She gave it to her.
I thought
You gave it Brad? I thought it was Brad.
but I'm open to whatever the notes say.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just need to designate somebody to go be our rep, and then we just need an alternate. So I don't care who we put in there. We can put Bradley,
We just have to fill out that form.
right?
Yeah.
So Mrs. Trustee Rocket Martin is the representative, right?
Uh-huh,
With Berrien Reese.
uh-huh.
The alternate has to be available in case she's not here to go.
Mhm.
June. What was it? June.
I will not be available that day.
But she's available.
I'll be.
June 1st. I think it's June 1st.
Monday.
Yeah, Tuesday, yeah.
It's Tuesday. You know,
Be available. It'll be a Tuesday.
so Ms. Trustee Rocket Martin said she would be available to go. And we say alternate, that person, you know, if Ms. Rocket Martin can't come.
Right.
Call. Not just for this, I'm just saying in general, if he's an alternate, there might be some kind.
Yeah, Gavin is the alternate, Raquel Martin is the primary, but Raquel Martin, you are planning to go,
Yes.
correct? Okay,
June 2nd, right? Put it in my calendar.
okay.
Not here.
All right, so, resolution of the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education, whereas the biennial election of the Board of Berrien Regional Education Service Agency will be held Monday, June 2nd at a meeting of representatives from constituent school boards, whereas section 380.614.2 of the revised school code requires a constituent school board to designate its representative and identify the intermediate school board candidate. The board supports for each position to be filled on the board by a resolution adopted not earlier than 21 days prior to the date of the election, and whereas section 614.2 prescribes the method of passage of a resolution, including the requirement of considering the resolution at not less than one public meeting before adopting the resolution. And whereas the board previously considered the resolution at an open meeting conducted in a manner prescribed under the Open Meetings Act on, now there be it resolved that the board designates Stephanie Rockett Martin as its representative to serve on the 2025 electoral body responsible for electing members to Barry and Risa Board of Education, and Eleanor Gavin as an alternate representative in the event the designated representative is unable to attend. The board supports candidate Daniel Buckenmeyer and Ann Hernan, both for a term of 6 years because it's only two. The board directs its representative, Rockett Martin, to vote for those noted candidates. At least on the first ballot taken at the June 2nd, 2025 election for the term of 6 years. The board authorizes and directs the secretary to file this resolution with the Secretary of Barry and Risa board prior to June 2nd, 2025. VP Bowens, are you making a motion to approve the resolution?
Yes.
Is there a second or support?
Or
The motion has been made by VP Bowens and supported by Secretary Triplett. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. So Ms. Singer, I believe that last whereas we put the we will put the May 17th date there. Okay.
Are we supposed to vote during the closed session and stuff?
Yeah, that's next. That's board motion one. Okay, so at this time, I'll ask, is there a board motion? One, I'll ask, is there a motion to retain third-party law firm Allen Talgenhoff, PLLC for the personnel matters?
Madam
moved.
President.
Okay, is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made by trustee Doyle and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett. Yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yeah.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next on our updated agenda. Okay, so we removed policy and discipline. Up next, we have Finance and Facilities Committee work session agenda, specifically the 25-26 budget. Director Brock Carter?
President Robinson?
Yes.
I believe curriculum and instruction is under.
Okay, go ahead. You can go next. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Everybody hear me okay?
No.
You said no?
No.
It feels like my mic is low. Testing,
Lord help.
testing. Is that better?
Much better.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to condense the committee items to the voting items, and I will turn it over to you, Director Cups.
Thank you, trustee Gavin. We have two staff reports. Staff report C1, reason for board approval, purchases over $28,048 need board approval according to the most recent State of Michigan Department of Education threshold. Facts and analysis. The purchase of 100 new Chromebooks for summer school is essential to support the district's credit recovery program for high school students. This program, designed to help students regain lost academic credits and stay on track for graduation, relies heavily on digital platforms that require consistent internet connectivity and access to reliable devices. Many students may not have personal access to functioning technology, which poses a significant barrier to participation and success. BHAS. By providing Chromebooks, the district ensures equitable access to learning resources, promotes academic achievement, and supports student engagement in a structured, technology-dependent summer learning environment. Policy reference 6320 purchasing, funding source Title IV. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the purchase of computers totaling $138,924.40 as presented.
Is there a motion to approve?
I so
We're
moved.
doing vote today, right?
Yes,
Is there a motion to approve staff report C1?
I so moved.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Madam President.
You have the floor.
Here, I know. I'm glad that we're supporting and purchasing computers. I guess my question is there a system in place on computers? Who's returning them? Who's not returning them? How many are damaged? How many do we have as a district as a whole? Because I think last year we just ordered a whole bunch of laptops. How many laptops do we have? Are we holding parents and families accountable when they're damaged? How many are returning? How many are we giving away? What is the data on there? What is the system in place? And if that was a loaded question, I apologize.
Without Director Dash here, it's difficult to completely answer the question. I do know that the high school does keep track of the students that have completed their AUP and whether or not they return their device from the previous year before they're issued a device again for the current school year. I can't speak 100% to the charging, like a cost for not returning. I'd have to get more information on that.
Yes, and I understand it's only 100 computers, but another question is, like for me, with my company, my policy is we update our computers every 2 years. And I think last year, I could be wrong, we spent 200,000 on computers. And now we're here spending 100,000. So you get where I'm going. What's the data? Dr. Butts, do you know any of that? Madam President, can I ask Dr. Butts?
Go ahead.
I know there has been some concerns about students returning them, and I know at one point we were trying to have them to stay at school. It was the wish of the board to make sure the students had one-to-one. So in each individual school has had was directed to have their own processes for handling those. So it's at the building level how they handle those.
So we don't have a district-wide policy to handle all of our laptops or inventory.
We have an AUP that we give out from the district
Okay.
that goes to each school.
And then, so you do have a district policy, AUP, but then the individual schools have their own policy.
No, the individual schools are responsible for following that AUP.
Okay, I don't think I heard that, but all right, thank you.
Question. This right here is for the future. And Bud is not here. So I don't know from a technology perspective, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on technology. And that was a big concern we first got on the board, and it was just like a big issue. Saying that people don't want the kids to have computers and all these different things. And that's not the case, because I feel like that inventory system should be already set. People have been working every day. We should be able to ask that inventory information should be readily available. I just saw some computers in the system that I've been privy to be a part of in the last 2 years. Each student has a Chromebook. That Chromebook is issued in elementary. They keep that Chromebook. Once they finish elementary, they go. They are given their Chromebooks. I don't know the exact timeline. And they get another Chromebook in their freshman year and they keep it all the way to their senior year. And that's how they're able to do work. And I think that as much money has been, I hope we will get an opportunity to look at that and come up with, because it's okay to ask other districts how they do things. And they're probably, so those kids get those Chromebooks. Seniors got ready to close out, Chromebooks were returned. Okay, and so, and all of the different things as far as broken Chromebooks, you have to have people that can fix this stuff and get them back, orders and all those things like that. So I'm looking forward, and hopefully that'll be something that we'll be able to put in place, but I know we won't be able to do it tonight.
Thank you. Dr. Butts, can you tell us whose job title that falls under? I know that Director Dash was moved from technology to facilities. And so whose position does that fall under to maintain the inventory and the process for checks and balances with the computers?
Right now, it's still under Director Dash. We have not hired a IT manager as of date.
Okay. So Director Dash, he has a process that's is it viewable to only him? Is it viewable to the?
I would have to get with him to see how his process goes.
Okay. You say you would have to get with him?
Yes, ma'am. I will have to follow up with him for that.
Okay.
Ms. Bob Carter.
I just wanted to say that we do have an inventory system where each Chromebook is tagged with an inventory number logged into the inventory system, and that's how they are tracked for the school year. And when they return them at the end of the school year, that system is then rechecked to make sure that each of those Chromebooks have been returned. And the elementary level and middle school level, we don't have a policy where they have to pay if they don't return it, but we do have a policy in place at the high school to where they do have to turn in their Chromebook or pay the fees in order to receive their diploma. So that's as far as I can speak of the system that's keeping track of the Chromebooks. But we do have an inventory system that keeps track of each tag and knows where it goes and where it should come back to.
Thank you so much. And is it appropriate, President Robinson, to ask Dr. Butts just for that inventory, what that inventory status is of the computers that we had? And, what we have left that's working.
I can follow up with Director Dash on that.
Okay, thank you. Was there anyone else who had
Trustee.
questions? Treasurer Brad, sorry.
So for these computers, these are just for summer school, these gonna be for the entire school year?
They're going to be for the entire school year. The purchase of them is coming from the summer school budget. So for purposes of purchasing, they have to be for summer school, but once they are inventoried in our system, we can use them for the lifetime.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions from the board? And Director Kupch, this is vital for us to move forward with our summer school program for the students to have what they need. Okay, thank you. There's a motion on the floor.
All right, if there's no other questions, Secretary Triplett, can you
Call the roll.
call the vote? Who made the motion?
Myself, and
Okay.
then
All
I
right,
made the motion and,
I second.
okay, go ahead and call.
Rocket Martin. Ms. Singer, you're adding this to our sheet because we weren't planning on doing this tonight? Okay. President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
motion carried.
Staff report C2.
Just a quick update with the driver's education. The Official Driving School submitted their application for the course to the state of Michigan. They are anticipating approval of that this week so that they can start officially registering students into one of the two sessions that are currently planned. The first session is slated to start July 7th and the second session September 8th. We are able to offer an elective credit for students that successfully complete this. So we would like to use the board report to have that course update to the course guide. I'm scrolling to find it to read it to you. It is in the section of experiential learning dual enrollment courses. It is linked on the agenda for this committee. It reads, it's a yearly course for a half of credit, elective credit. It is available to students in grades 9, 10, 11, and 12 based on the student's age. That would also include incoming ninth graders if they are meeting that age requirement before the summer before they start ninth grade. Driver's education is a comprehensive course designed to prepare students for responsible driving. The curriculum combines classroom instruction with behind the wheel experience, covering topics such as traffic laws, defensive driving techniques, vehicle operation, and the dangers of impaired and distracted driving. Successful completion of this course may fulfill the state's requirements for obtaining a learner's permit or driver's license, open to students who meet the minimum age requirement as set by the state. This is a virtual course with some in-person requirements. Students will complete 24 hours of class time and complete a final written assessment in person. 6 hours of driving along with 4 hours of driving observation are also requirements within this course.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and read staff report.
Should I read the board report?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
please.
Reason for consideration, the board annually approves the high school course guide and any changes or amendments made to it. Facts and analysis. The guide has been edited to include a new course, driver's education, along with pertinent information and credit opportunity for students. Policy reference 5460 graduation requirements and 2230 course guide. Strategic plan goal reference, Benton Harbor area schools will increase student achievement as measured on local, state, and national assessments. Recommended action that Benton Harbor area schools Board of Education approve the recommended changes as presented to the Benton Harbor High School course guide.
Is there a motion to approve staff report C2?
I so move.
Support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
I just have one. You
Can
said
you
they
speak
have
in the
to-
mic, please?
You said that they have to complete 6 hours of training.
There's 24 hours of coursework over about 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
They have to do 6 hours in the car driving and generally 4 of those hours is also accomplished for their observation because that's a requirement as well. They have to be with the instructor observing another person driving for at least
Okay.
4 hours and then they themselves driving for 6 hours.
Okay. So, but does that gel with the state of Michigan? Don't they have to have more hours than that?
They have additional hours that they have to log as part of their licensing levels, but as far as it goes for the driver's education course to sign off for that, I believe it's part of segment 1 and segment 2. So once they
Okay.
complete these 24 hours, at the 6 hours and the 4 hours and pass the test, then they've completed segment 1.
Okay, okay. Just as long as they understand that they still have to keep practicing.
Yeah, the learner's permit requires them to log a specific number of hours and the state provides
Right.
that log sheet. They have to complete that and have a licensed driver over a certain age, 21 or
Right.
25, and then they take that with them to the Secretary of State for the next stage of their licensing.
Okay, thank you.
There's no other questions. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
motion carried.
Up next, we have finance and facilities, specifically the 25-26 budget.
Chairman Bradley.
Go ahead, Director Carter.
Thank you, trustee Bradley. Specifically on the facilities, finance and facilities committee meeting agenda, the final section, the 25-26 budget. As discussed previously,
I can't get in, it says,
I'm sharing it.
oh,
yeah. When we get these things on our agenda, can we please already have access? Moving forward,
She have it now.
Just because.
You should have it now.
it just popped up. Thank you. So in the financial summary, 2026, right side position.
It's just because.
Yeah. Every time you hit one of those things, over here it says I need access to each one.
A bunch of them.
Yeah, I saw them individual. I didn't know if that's what it was that she was doing.
there's one that says school border, and I always hit that, but it seems like I always have to go back and do everybody individually. So I apologize.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
So as we go through, we're on the 2025-26 budget.
But we're gonna start with the district right size position elimination staff report.
Yes.
Do you have that one pulled up?
Yeah.
Okay. These,
Financial
after, careful consideration, and collaboration with the admin, all of the admin staff, including building principals, assistant principals at some buildings and, directors. These are, the positions that will need to be eliminated in order for us to right size our district.
These are
Um,
recommendations.
excuse me?
These are recommendations.
Yes. These are recommendations in order to right size our district so that our expenses don't exceed our revenue next year. And that we don't go into a deficit and deplete our fund balance. Also with our enrollment, we also want to right size our staff as related to our enrollment. And we are also attempting to mirror our staff capacity at each building based on enrollment and student needs.
Question.
Yes.
I've been asking for some time now and trying to get some understanding in being a part of the finance and the facilities committee. I would like an opportunity, like you said, we can come in and talk. But I'm like, when I look at these when we say what positions on this list right here comes out of general fund, if any?
All of them.
All these are general funds, they're not like a grant, none.
All of our grants go into the general fund.
So we don't have those grants anymore?
Yes, all of our grants go into the general fund.
Okay, I'll,
And it, again, we can meet later
yeah,
you can see the funding
Yes.
for each position.
most definitely.
Yes,
Okay, so when you say this is district wide, so like say for instance, you have 5 MTSS specialists. So that's just, how many do we have in total? Or are we just removing that position and role completely?
we are removing that position, not role, but position completely. And we would like to focus that work to our social workers.
School social workers,
Excuse me?
school social workers?
Yes.
So each one of our school has a social worker there?
And that is not on here because that's a position that already exists. For the district right size creation are the positions that we are creating, but we don't have to create that position because it already exists. We are now going to make sure that it is funded and filled at each individual building instead of having 2 social workers across the district.
Trustee Gavin.
Hey.
Can hear you.
This document just became available a few minutes ago. Okay, so I have major concerns about that. That's the first thing. That something this serious would be made available right now. The other thing, is we are in a process of transition. I feel like can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Ma'am.
It feels like my microphone
Oh,
keeps getting,
okay, go ahead. I can hear you now.
the volume keeps getting reduced. Okay, well, I'll speak up. It's up there now. It wasn't up there before a few seconds ago. So, one, the fact that we're just getting this, I think we should have had this as soon as possible when we had MASB training and the facilitator came and spoke on decisions of right sizing and eliminating positions. She indicated that we should have this information and the public should have it as soon as possible. So this is the 9th hour. The other thing is when we went over this before, I was asking for a comparative analysis. So just to make the suggestion that, just to make the suggestion that we would be saving funds by eliminating jobs without looking at the value that these positions bring to the job. I feel like we're not getting all of the information that we need in order to make that decision. And the other issue that I have is that we are in transition. I believe that the next superintendent is the one who should be making decisions about positions. I do not believe that this administration can make decisions for an incoming administration. And my understanding is that we are not in the negative. We do have funds, and eliminating positions so that money can just sit in the bank as opposed to looking for ways to build, continue to build value in the positions that we have, that concerns. Every one of these positions are unique. They have value, and a social worker is not going to be able to cover, family engagement specialists, interventionists, security coordinator. They're not going to be able to cover those positions. And so I am vehemently opposed any cut out from the administration, the incoming administration, and we are not. I guess my question is, without making these cuts, how much money do we have in the bank?
Um, this is for next year. So right now, we are on track to still have our $24 million fund balance. So at the end of this school year, we are on track to not be in a deficit and have that same balance at the start of next school year. That's what we are on track to do.
Okay.
And as far as, I'm not saying a social worker can do all of these positions that are listed here. That's not the case. A social worker will not be expected to do all of the positions that are listed for elimination. So that was just the MTSS piece, not the entire list.
Yeah.
And our budget, this information is what I used in order to create the 25-26 budget, so that we are not totally, completely using all of our fund balance. But even with these cuts, we are still, and that's on the next slide, but we will still be on track to have a deficit based on our revenue and expenses and slowly chip away at our fund balance. And, $24 million sounds like a lot, but if you chip into it $6 to $8 million every year, it will take 3 to 4 years for it to be completely gone. And we are supposed to keep at least 5% of our revenue as a fund balance according to the state.
Thank you for that. So you're saying 3 to 4 years down the road, not 25, 26, correct?
That's correct. But again, if we start to go into a deficit, one year is a certain amount of million, the next year is a certain amount of million, then we're below the 5% that we're expected to have. And, we are then very risky according to the state.
Thank you. So what I'm clear on is that we're not there. $24 million. We do have the space to allow a superintendent who is going to be vested moving forward to help make that decision. And it would be wise for us to allow that superintendent to make that decision or to coordinate with you as the director of finance. So I'm just going to say I have a major issue with getting this information at this moment. I have a major issue with these many cuts without the incoming superintendent having a say over it. And I believe that if we invest in our staff, that will recycle back into our district. And 25, 26 should be a year of really encouraging staff to look for ways to add value, not to have anybody looking for jobs, jumping ship, and leaving our district, without all of this legs moving forward. And I'll turn it back over to you, Treasurer Bradley, and I'll just say one more time, 24 million. We'll be okay.
I wouldn't recommend it.
That's fine.
Vice President. Oh, let me get Vice President Barnes, and then I'll come to you.
Okay.
Vice President Barnes.
So whenever we're discussing cutting people or cutting positions, it's a hard thing because these are people that we deal with, we work with. When we're at the grocery store, they come into you, they're your next door neighbors. So it's always hard to do this type of stuff. I understand sometimes you have to do what's necessary. But But I'm just concerned on some of the ones, because I could have swore last year or the year before, we created the MTSS specialist positions. And those people applied for those, and now we're cutting them. And I think we just created 2 positions last year. My also thing is the HR assistant is vacant. But and we would eliminate that position. And that department needs all the resources that it needs. Would you say dealing with the HR, you're dealing with a lot of things, correct?
Correct.
So that HR, so you do agree with me with that HR position?
No, I don't. I
Okay.
disagree.
So you just said correct though, right?
Correct. I think it's correct that HR has a lot of functions and they deal with a lot of things.
So canceling that position is not gonna cause us any issues.
No, our HR department has been functioning quite well.
Okay, the special education department,
Yes,
that has been a sore part for us. You know, the state, we got in trouble with it. And that is one of the biggest things that brings a lot of revenue to our district. Those kids, you know, they need a lot of resources, and we have to make sure IEPs, 50, you know, all of that is up to date. Will that devastate that department?
no,
So all of these individual departments that you guys have done and discussed, you don't see it affecting the daily workflow, or can you imagine 3 months from now or 4 months from now, when we have a new administration and they say we need more resources? What do you think with that? I mean,
well,
is this the solid plan that you believe will get us there, or do you think we could have had different proposals on different cuts?
we have visited several proposals.
And it has all the staff from the HR director, the curriculum director, have all of them been included in those?
Most definitely. I could not make these decisions on my own.
Secretary Triplett, go ahead. Secretary
Yes.
Triplett,
Yes.
Clarity.
go ahead.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Vice President Bowen said the director of HR was involved in this decision, and you said yes. I just want to make sure that I heard that correctly.
Yes, we have been discussing this since January.
And the director of HR approved this latest plan that just came before us today.
No, I wouldn't say he approved it, but he was a part of the initial discussions.
So he did not approve it.
No, he did not approve it.
Thank you for clarity.
Go ahead, Secretary Triplett.
I just was looking here and you know, this has been a point that we discussed. And like I said, would like to come in. We say that all grants and everything that we got is in our general fund. We receive a lot of these grants to not supplant and what have you, so that into our general fund and those things, because there are specific things that go directly with that only our general fund is responsible for paying for. These grants support. It might be reported out that this when we say our general fund, what we have, but this is not our general fund per se. When it comes to what we get from state aid, federal aid, and all of that, this is something. Some of these positions are completely different. Correct?
Correct. Some of the
Okay.
positions are funded by specific grants that go into the general fund.
I understand that, but I'm just saying. So when we talk about our general fund, when they look at us as being in a deficit and what have you, we talk about the actual general fund, the school aid, FTEs, and all those things. What money that Benton Harbor area schools have. And
When
these
they-
right here are support things, because I look here, I see 21 positions. I see 21 positions on here that is going to be removed. It'd be 21 people in this community who will lose their job. And so when we talk about that and we're not in an $18 million deficit that we were forever, they used the number $18 million forever. Then we got to $14 million. This is 21 of our people who are citizens that live in this community. And this is almost June. And so that would be concerning for me. But again, I'll get an opportunity to speak with you in a smaller meeting, but I just want that at the forefront. Very concerned.
I look forward to speaking to
Thank you.
all of you all individually or as a group so that all the details can be discussed.
Okay, any more questions? Yes, Madam President.
So I just want, I'll be extremely brief. So the Board of Education was at this crossroads last year, trying to make a determination on right sizing the district. The Board of Education at that particular time was not comfortable with it. By the grace of God, Director Brock Carter was able to go back in, recalculate some things with was it our expenditures or our revenues?
Our revenue.
Revenues, and we determined that we were in a good position. I want to remind you all that we still have nearly, is it 3 million from the ESSER funds that we're not getting? And what I think Ms. Carter was attempting to explain when I was walking in is although we have a cushion now, this particular maintaining our budget as it stands is going to cut so many million into our fund balance that we have if we don't make these decisions. And I know that it was stated at the table that we'll have a new superintendent and things of that nature, and we can let that superintendent make decisions. However, we'll be going into a budget with spending more than what we have to spend for the fiscal year if we do that. And I think we owe it to an incoming superintendent to put them in the best position fiscally that we can, so that they're not coming in and having to rob Peter to pay Paul, for lack of a better word. So I know that we're not in a deficit at this particular time, but what I hear Director Brock Carter saying is that she would prefer that we make these amendments and cuts now so that we can stay in a positive place in our fund balance. And so I have attempted to bring this conversation back to the table because I do want it to be a decision that the Board of Education makes. Ultimately, it is a decision for the board, whether it's to approve it or to deny it. But I do strongly suggest that we proceed with right sizing of some sort. So I would ask that everyone please do your small groups. I've been asking for small groups and follow-ups and meetings so that we can get to a place where the board is comfortable. And so as your president, I just have to ask that we proceed with caution and we're making good financial decisions for our budget, not just for 1 or 2 years, but for the long term. And that's all I have.
Go ahead, Trustee Gavin.
Thank you. I just wanted the clarity around the $3 million. Did something happen? Because I was under, unless it's a different 3 million, I was under the impression that Attorney General Nessel fought and won a case in which we would be able to retrieve that $3 million in ESSER funds. Is that no longer the case?
I haven't had the update.
Yeah, President Robinson wasn't here when we discussed that. The ESSER, final expenditure report was reopened.
Okay.
And we did resubmit our expenditure report to draw down the additional funds, but it's being considered on a case-by-case basis. We did submit, I don't know if it was last week or week before last, and we have not received the funds or have a decision made at this point, but they are reviewing those by a case-by-case basis to see if each individual district is eligible to receive those funds, and we have submitted for that.
So before the 3 million, how many million were we already over budgeted going into next year?
8.
Thank you.
Secretary Triplett.
Yeah, I'm gonna close out with this. I didn't see the 3 special education teachers when I rolled down the report and the paraprofessional, the 5 paraprofessionals that's on here because of the special education department. When we have substitute teachers in many of those classes already. And so, again, like I said, I will speak Oh, I said, yeah, so I will speak, um, to you again. I just want to see the rest of it. Let me just stop and see the
Sure.
rest of it.
Sure, not a problem.
And I will say this so we can close it out, so we can go ahead and move for the sake of time. If we fail to plan, then we'll leave ourselves in a bad predicament. And I do agree with what, Madam President had said, is that, we want to make sure that we have a clear roadmap for our next, person coming in, no matter who he or she may be. We want to make sure that they have a good, running ground. And we don't want them to come in, like you said, Madam President, coming in to, oh, okay, I gotta hurry and put this fire out, put that fire out. When they come in, learn the ropes, learn the community, learn everything. So, that's how I feel about that. Anything else to add, Director Brockharter?
Not at this time.
Okay, I will make sure, Trustee
Want to
Rackett.
set up a time with you. How, will you email us or we email you? How do you want to do it?
You can email me. That's fine, or we can ask Ms. Singer to set it up for us. However you want to do it. But I would like to get it going as soon as possible. I would like to also go over the district right sizing staff creation sheet.
Okay.
These are the positions we'd like to create for the 25-26 school year. Safety Security Coordinator with the general fund. We would like to interventionist for every building. And our family engagement specialist to have one at the elementary level and one at the secondary level. Again, some of the other positions we didn't have to create because they already exist. We may be adding more at different buildings, but these aren't all of the positions that are starting next year, but some of them we just didn't have to create, so we don't have to bring it to the board. And again, when we meet in small groups, we'll be able to go through all of these in great detail, the funding sources as well. The 25-26 budget proposal. If you can, oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask, so it would be like the safety/security coordinator would be over all, it's like Mr. Walton was for the district, over all, like the chief
Correct,
of campus safety.
correct,
Got it.
correct. And that would include monitoring the new system as you suggested.
Yeah. Yeah.
May I ask one more?
All right, Trustee Gavin.
Thank you so much for your indulgence. With this plan, are we keeping all of our schools open?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
With this plan, are we keeping all of our schools open? Our school what?
She said, what's that plan on it?
The buildings open, yes, yes. This plan is not to close any buildings.
Okay, thank you.
All right, go ahead,
The 25-26 budget proposal. Again, this is based on an approval for the elimination and approval for the creation. So I really want to take you to slide 7 that shows our anticipated revenues for 25-26 at 23 million. And slide 8 that shows our expenditures at 28 million. And slide 9, which shows our current fund balance at 24.8 million. Our estimated revenue for next year, our estimated expenses for next year. That will leave us with an ending fund balance of 19.6 million and a change in our fund balance, a decrease of 5.2 million for 25-26.
And how many students would we, I know for 2 years or 3 years, we've had someone listed in the position of recruitment. And nobody has been recruited. As a matter of fact, we've lost students. So how many students, just, I don't want to ask you, right? I mean, taking into consideration, maybe you can give this to me. How many students would we need to recover back that could get that 5 million? And somebody could possibly go out and recruit some people and get our kids back in our school district.
But with our foundation allowance being 10,000 per student for next year, that will be about 520 students.
Okay, All right, great.
All right, you have anything else, Director Burkhardt?
No, that's all I have. The staff report for our monthly reports, we can go over next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
And I was just going to say this too. I know we had we did get a chance to have a finance and facilities committee meeting. What was it, last week, I think, or the week before last? And, you did show us some information from the new church. I don't know if you wanted me to discuss that. Yeah, if you, we, it was some alarming numbers in there, and I will say it was that, it showed, I think it was slide 8 that you showed in our meeting, where this is some stuff we really have to think about, some things we really have to consider. We have 3,000 students that live in this area going to outside districts. And with the fund balance going up to $10,000, that's $34 million leaving each and every school year, each and every day going out. So I want you all to take that into consideration. Those are things we have to look at and be creative and forward thinking on how we can recruit and put a dent in that number.
When we have our small meetings, I'll go over that data more in depth. But it was data from Munetrics on our district compared to other districts in the state. So it was very informative for myself. And that number was 3,460 students that live in Ben Harbor Area School District that are attending
That's
other
too much.
schools. So that's $34,600,000 that is leaving our district.
It's too much.
Ricardo, can you
Yes.
send us like maybe your schedule and tell us what times you are available and we can just plug into them?
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And that's going to be all for the facilities and finance in this, for the sake of time.
All right, so small reminder to our committee chairs, we do have the 2 minute per trustee per topic. I know once discussion gets started, it's easy to allow for the additional comments, but when we have heftier agendas, it'll be a little easier for us if we maintain that requirement. Up next, we have old business. I don't have any old business, but I do have some new business. You all previously voted on making June 7th and June 14th dates for the superintendent search. When Dr. Collins went back and reviewed things, she actually needs a third date. So June 7th would be to review all applications with the Board of Education and identify first round candidates. So they're gonna bring those apps to us. June 14th is to interview the first round candidates and narrow to second round. So they need a third date to interview round 2 candidates and identify a date for candidate presentations and Q&A with the superintendent search committee. So I'm wondering if you guys, she's suggesting June 21st, that third Saturday, if that date works for you all. So one additional date outside of what you previously determined.
The date,
Saturday, June 21st. So the first date, June 7th, which I believe is that next Saturday. They will be bringing all the applications into the board. She discussed they have a tier system, so they're gonna rate applications according to what they see as tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. But they're gonna show us those applications and we'll identify the first round of candidates, June 7th. June 14th is when we actually interview the first round of candidates. And then we'll narrow it down to second round. We need a third date to interview those, that final round of candidates.
Does she have a time on there?
No, just a date. That's Saturday. I don't think you all set a time for the 7th and 14th either.
do we have a board meeting on the 24th?
That would be a work session meeting, more than likely.
Can we set aside our work session for that?
I have no objection.
24th of June.
Mm-hmm.
The superintendent by the 30th.
Well, we're gonna have to appoint an interim at this point. So had we started, someone had made a recommendation that we get this process started a little, probably about 2 or 3 weeks earlier than what we did. I won't say who that someone is. But had we got started, we probably would make our deadline. So we'll be about 2 or 3 weeks shy. The 21st doesn't work?
It does not.
Does it work?
I have no problem.
It works for you?
I've already spoke to my job and they're willing to work with me to get me through town on the East Coast run. So in that way I can be here for the 14th and 21st. But if you move it to the work session day, I can work with that too.
Okay, what is the board's pleasure? The 24th or the 21st?
I would go for the 21st.
Okay.
I would really like to be involved in that process. I would not be available.
Oh, the 24th?
So
Be.
the 20,
On the 21st.
Yeah.
and I know that, Dr. Collins wanted the entire board to be present. If
Bradley, could
possible.
you do the
She
the
stressed that.
24th, that work session? You can do that. Okay, so we'll do June 24th as the third date. Okay, so June 7th, we'll review our applications. June 14th, we'll interview first round candidates. June 24th, we'll interview this second batch of candidates. Okay. The other final piece, I guess it's more so old and new. Just an FYI, we'll have to squeeze in our final training in one of these days where everyone will be present. I think Bradley's indicated the 7th doesn't work. You're trying to do the last two.
Yes, because of the short notice for the 7th.
Okay,
But I can do, if we can work around the work session time, I can work with my job to get here.
okay, so I'll touch base with Dr. Collins about the timing of the June 14th and the June 21st. I mean, June 24th, of course, that'll be an evening. June 14th could be a morning. So I'll choose, one of those days will be our final training date with it, for our partnership agreement. That's just an FYI.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
So the final training date is critical.
It has to be done by June 30th.
And so what day will we all be here? And if we do that, it would be 1 hour before. Could we do that like on the 14th, so we're halfway through? You know, at the 14th, so we've cleared our requirement. So we scheduled it for the 14th, whatever day you said, like the 14th will be in the morning. So if whatever time in the morning we come in and do the session, if Treasurer Bradley is here, come in and do the session an hour before and then go into, so it might take an early morning and then go into
And start the interviews later in the
then start,
afternoon.
People be wore out,
Okay.
you know, you do the interview, then.
Because it may not just be an hour training, it just depends on what the topic is. It could be an hour or two. She allowed me to use this online training, but I don't know that I'll find another. But I hear what you're saying. We do the training in the morning and then start the interviews in the afternoon. Okay. Alrighty. So what we have is June 7th will be review of all applications. June 14th will be training in the morning and interviews in the afternoon. And then June 21st will be the second round of interviews. The 14th, we'll do a training and interviews.
Done by noon, by 2.
It depends on how many candidates.
It's
7, 14, 24.
You have something June 14th?
No, I can do 14. I'm just going over the dates. You said the 7th.
The 7th, the 14th, and the 24th.
I just think that we just have to make the commitment, really. One board member is out of town. And so that's what you work around. If he could be here, we need to open our calendars and just make ourselves available on those Saturdays. And If we get done early, that's fine.
The 14th is a holiday. Are we still doing that?
What's the 14th?
Juneteenth.
Oh, that's the date you all voted on.
But I guess what
But we gotta do work. We
Yeah.
got work to do. So anybody that's doing something with the Juneteenth parade or whatever, you have to find people to stand in your place and let it go forward.
I'm not in the parade or.
No, I'm just saying, you just gotta get it done.
Okay, so we can, so we have the 14th, the 17th, and the 24th set as days.
Not as early as 7 o'clock.
Girl.
On the 14th.
I didn't mean that. I am so sorry. That was on my-
We could probably do 8 AM.
So sorry. Oh, my God. That's the deal.
Okay, so what she did tell me is you wanna try to keep each applicant to 1 hour for their interview, so each applicant will have about an hour of interview time. And most of the time, once you get to that second stage, you have it narrowed down to about three or four candidates that you really like that gets down to that second pool. Because I anticipate more than likely us, depending on the application we receive, we won't have, everybody may not go. We may not decide that we want everyone to do that first. Yeah. And then trustee Rocket Martin as well, the only thing that's required that everyone is here for is the training in the morning. So if we get a certain part through some of the interviews and you miss. Okay, so to wrap it up, what we have is the 7th, the 14th, and the 24th as our 3 dates, and we'll do training the morning of the 14th.
The time to come on the 7th.
Yes, I'll let you know what time. All right, anyone present for open public comment?
President Robinson?
Yes.
I had a question. I don't know if it's old business or new business. How soon in advance does the superintendent need to be notified about evaluation, his evaluation?
He
I
gets,
asked on February 27th about that.
so he would get a week of time to prepare.
Would he need to be notified from the board table? What is the process?
We just set a date for evaluation and then he's notified.
Can we set a date?
If that's your pleasure. You have a public comment?
Not
Can
the
the date-
public.
How do we set the date? Throw it out.
You all can throw out some dates, I guess.
I didn't hear what was her question.
She wants to schedule the evaluation date.
How's it? I don't know, the 30th? Is that too late? What's the date that works for folks?
Friday this week.
The 30th of June. I don't know what date are you talking about, Miss Gavin? The 30th of
That doesn't
June?
give them a week. If it was this week. So
Friday of this week,
how's the 27th?
27th of June.
How's that?
That's my birthday. I will not be here.
Is there a date that works best for you, Dr. Buds?
I will have to check my calendar and get back with you.
How about the 26th?
I will have to check my calendar and get back with you. The 27th is my birthday.
Madam President,
Vice President Bowens?
I think that we, as the board, give the date and then we give notice to the superintendent for the interview. Is that the process or has it changed?
We normally schedule a date and then we notify the superintendent that we're going to do it on a particular date, but we give him a week notice to prepare his documents.
Okay, so I will say that I did send a notification to you and Dr. Butts, letting them know that the board did want to evaluate the superintendent. So I don't see anything wrong with the June second week or third week, I'm sorry, the second week in June. Or the third week, it's, I mean, whatever the board decides on making sure that we do, but the board is the one that sets the date.
I recommend the 26th.
Madam
That's a
President,
Thursday.
Treasurer Bradley.
when is the last day for the superintendent, current superintendent?
30th of 2025.
So my question is, if we already have a loaded schedule, why are we doing an evaluation this late in the hour?
Some things I don't think we're allowed to. There are some things I think we're not allowed to discuss. But is it okay to see how the board feels about June 26th? Does that work for anybody? That's a Thursday.
I would honestly have to check for myself.
Yeah, I have to check with my calendar, but as it stands, none of this works for me.
Okay, well, that's the good thing about a majority, Madam President. I'm sorry, Madam President.
Vice President Bone.
That's the good thing about a majority, although if one or two or three don't come, it's still the district business must move forward and the mandate that we were given must still go forward. June 26th, I will be out of town. So I don't have a problem from the week of the 8th, I'm not sorry, the 9th to the 13th. We can do Friday the 13th. I don't think so. The 16th to the 20th is my availability. My calendar is open. And normally we did, those are the dates. Any of those, once we come up with the date to move forward, we expect, Madam President, to notify the superintendent of the dates and what we'll be asking for to get those artifacts together.
I can do the 13th.
I'm just where everyone is just kind of jumping in without me giving them the floor. So I really don't know if this is open discussion or what we're doing. So I'm just kind of sitting here allowing us to work through it.
My apologies. I thought you said for us to figure out the date, President Robinson. I was not trying to disrespect.
Oh, it's okay. I don't take it as disrespect. I just didn't want you all to wonder why I was sitting here. Vice President, Bradley.
Like I said, we have a loaded calendar. And the optics of evaluating an employee that has put their resignation in is not a good look. You can feel how you want to feel and have your opinion on it, but hey, it is what it is. He's put his resignation in. If you want to evaluate him, rescind the resignation.
Okay, so I think this conversation is going down a route that probably we don't want to have at the table.
Madam President,
Vice President Bowens.
we evaluated a superintendent and gave him a good rating and he applied for a job and got that job. And it was on his resume that he was highly effective. A evaluation helps us to prepare. It's something that we are required to do. I reached out to MASB today and he advised that we should do the evaluation unless the board agrees that we don't do the evaluation. So if we want to take a vote and say that we don't do the evaluation, then that's the majority rules. But he says we should do the evaluation. It helps and prepares us for professional development. If it's not, if it's highly effective or whatever the artifacts that Dr. Butts brings to us, I don't see why it's a big thing on evaluating the superintendent. We took an oath to do that. And that's one of our main jobs to do is to evaluate the superintendent. So when we take our personal feelings aside, whether he's gone or here, the new superintendent we get, we'll have to evaluate him, whether he resigns or not. The last superintendent we had, he resigned, but we still evaluated him. So I don't understand where this is going. It's just simple. Trustee Gavin requested a date for us to come up with the date. Once we come up with the date, We give you you notify the superintendent, he brings the artifacts, and it's done. We only have one job, and that is to make sure we are evaluating the superintendent. Now, would you like for me to put a motion on the floor?
Was that framed, you were answering, it sounds like you were talking to me. Were you just speaking to everybody?
I
in
was
the
just
room?
speaking, I'm
Oh.
speaking directly to you, but to everyone.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I haven't said much of anything. So it's whatever your pleasure. I'm here at the board's pleasure.
I would like to make a motion that we come up with a date to evaluate the superintendent.
Second.
Okay, so is the motion gonna include the date or is this a motion to hold an
Give you the
evaluation?
responsibility of cutting.
I don't want that
Well, you're the
responsibility.
board president, and I understand that you may not want the responsibility.
No, I'm
You
saying
have to
it-
Notify,
Yeah, I know that, but I would, okay, go ahead.
because we
Vice
just
President Ball.
came up with the date for our special meeting. I don't see what's different on coming up with the date to evaluate the superintendent.
I'm standing here with you all at the same time. But go ahead.
Okay, so I made a motion and it was seconded by trustee Gavin.
All right, questions, comments, concerns? Secretary Triplett, please call the vote.
That was the question, President Rogers.
Vice President Bradley.
It's trustee Treasurer Bradley. I'm vice president.
Here again, whatever the board decides, but I'm looking at the optics of it. But hey, y'all have fun.
President Rogers.
Trustee Gavin.
Is it okay to ask, the board members what day they have available? I don't wanna violate, your protocol.
No, it's fine if you all set the date. I just don't, what I'm saying is I try to come up with dates and I think the dates work and then they don't work. So that's part of like the partnership agreement debacle that we had previously. So that's why I was saying I would prefer not to be responsible for setting a date because I think we'll have a date and then we don't.
Is it possible to ask to tally the board and ask if the 12th or the 13th is,
No, that's perfectly fine. You all can make the motion with the date and see who
and if
supports
neither-
it.
thank you, and if neither of those work, that's great. Is it possible to respond? Does the 12th or 13th work?
The 12th works for me.
The 12th works for me.
It works for me.
The 12th is the what, Thursday?
Yes.
It worked for me.
Tentatively for me. I don't have anything on here.
Don't matter to me. I ain't gonna be here.
Can we call for the vote?
Yes.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus.
as we sit here and, have this type of discussion. First of all, we don't have to vote on whether or not we do, an evaluation of the superintendent. It is the responsibility of the Board of Education that the superintendent is evaluated. That is the one of our number one responsibilities. I think when people make assumptions, because evaluations are not punitive. They should never be punitive, ever, when you're evaluating people. And it's for them to see their strength, for them to see their weaknesses or areas that they need to work on. If anybody take that and weaponize it, then that's on them. But as the Michigan Association of School Boards definitely says this, that we must complete an evaluation on our superintendent. I don't think that it's fair for our superintendent to leave this district without having had an evaluation. His last evaluation, he was deemed, remember the category, that he was effective. And so that is, we can't pick and choose what MASB rules and stuff that we're gonna follow, what we're going to support.
Right.
I think that we also put ourselves in jeopardy by not doing so
Right.
as well. That's something to take into consideration because, our superintendent, aspired. I don't think our superintendent is getting ready to retire. The other jobs and responsibilities. I mean, other things. So it seems like, everything is so personal. Or it presents in a personal manner. And so, like I said, for us to move forward, if we're going to do an evaluation, the superintendent specifically said to us that he would not be available on his birthday. And for the board to take that into consideration. Because we definitely don't ever want to abuse our power at all. And so I'm quite sure that artifacts can be garnered. And I know it's a process, but you want the same courtesy and respect to be able to do a quality job. You don't want to just throw somebody out there and say, look, we need this right here, just like this. I think that our president and our superintendent who worked side by side with one another throughout his tenure here, I think that we still need to respect that process. That's just my opinion. Where she has had conversations with Dr. Butt, and Dr. Butt has had conversations with her. And we also want to make sure that everybody is given a fair chance. I don't want to be a part of anything, and I'm not saying that anybody is doing anything like this. But I want it to be well, because I want it to be well for our district. I want it to be well for our kids. I want it to be well for our school. Yeah. I heard him out. This happens all the time, and it's okay.
Madam President.
Yeah, so again, so I don't know why we got a motion on the floor. I think in the past, our president has and our superintendent has worked together, and I think they can work together and do that for us and get us a date for those who are going to participate in the evaluation of the superintendent. That's my thoughts.
So, Madam President,
Yes.
I would withdraw my motion, but we have made it clear that June 12th is the date that we selected for the superintendent evaluation.
Understood. Trustee Doyle?
I just want to move on because we got some training and I'm not trying to be here till 11, 12 o'clock tonight.
Thank you, Trustee Doyle.
Just for clarity. June 12th at 6 p.m. Is it possible for this to be noticed? I think the reason why there was a motion on the floor is because it hasn't made it to the agenda. We've been asking for it since February. And so we just want to make sure that it doesn't fall between the cracks, and we have so many other things that we need to do. So
Well, I just want to kind of, if I can, I did receive, I don't know if I sent out the request initially or you all sent out the request initially, but I made sure that everyone was trained. I sent out a request for evaluation, and then I was told to pause. And then there were additional follow-up, an email about it. But I just think to say that we've been asking for it since February, as if I've been pushing it off for 3 months or something to that extent, I don't want the public to misinterpret what's being said.
no worries. I really just want to know, how can we move forward in a professional way that we provide the superintendent with the notice that he needs so that he can prepare, and so that we can clear our schedules and we can be prepared as well. That's really all I would like to do.
I think you all have given the notice.
Thank you. Just wanted clarity. Appreciate you.
I didn't get a chance to get my final thought in because I thought it was about to go to a vote, but I've been wanting to let everyone talk. I honestly know that with the law change, I think effective last year, you weren't required to evaluate a superintendent every year since the policy changed or the law changed, and you could decide to take a vote as a board to not do the evaluation, which is what Trent was referencing. You would have to vote not to, but that would mean that you were letting your previous evaluation score be the evaluation score for this term. So I just wanted to provide some clarification to that. So yes, you do have a legal obligation to evaluate, but with the recent law change, you do have the right to allow the previous evaluation to stand. But you all have set your date for June 20th, 6 o'clock. It's quite a bit that's already scheduled, so we'll make the best of it and we'll proceed. I see no one for open public comment. Up next, we have MASB Board Training, CBA 227 Ethical Challenges. And then I needed to get connected to,
Can we take a recess? Oh, no? Okay.
we'll take a quick 10-minute recess to give him an opportunity to set my computer up. Today, we're taking CBA 227 Ethical Challenges. Description: this course will offer the ethical conduct required of board members who serve local communities through an interactive session using case studies and small group discussions. The class will review the MESB booklet, a code of ethical relationships, and discuss the implications the code has for board members and superintendents. Can you help me? How do I maximize this? We supposed to be coming. I called us back. Hmm? You can't leave. We got to get through it. He's supposed to be. We apologize to the public. We're having technical difficulties with our training system. We're still in session, but we're trying to get our computer together. Mhm. Mhm.
They understand, you decided again for the group.
You haven't taken this one. Mm-mm. Doyle has, Triplett has, and I think Bradley has. Mhm. Hey, Jeff, is there a way to make this, to magnify this for them?
We don't have mirror share? Okay.
Why am I going out? Come on, Pat. No.
Trust and integrity.
Okay, there we go. It's gonna be funny because you're gonna look this way.
School board members face complex ethical challenges. Balancing personal interests, community needs, and institutional responsibilities can be tough. It's important to maintain integrity and trust. Ethical leadership at the board table can in turn positively influence student achievement. Consider the case of a board member with a child in the district.
How do they navigate decisions that may impact their child's education? Or what if a board member receives a donation from a local business? How do they ensure that their decisions remain unbiased? These are just a few examples of the ethical challenges school board members face. It's important to have open and honest conversations about these issues to maintain trust and integrity. Leadership values are at the core of effective school board governance. As school board members, you are entrusted with the responsibility of shaping the educational landscape for students, staff, and the broader community. Strong leadership ensures that decisions are made with vision and integrity, while shared values guide those decisions in alignment with the mission of public education. By upholding ethical standards and fostering collaboration, school board members can create an environment where students thrive, educators are supported, and communities are engaged, ensuring long-term success for their district.
Okay, so this question, it's a question for us. It says, to thine own self be true, what does this statement mean to you? Anybody like to add, and then I'll type in and we can go. To thine own self be true, what does this statement mean to you? Secretary Triplett.
I don't want the bell to be ringing on the floor, but start ringing on it. Thank you, Dr. Butler, stopping the bell for this. I think that when I look at design on self be true, I think that when you make a decision to run for the Board of Education, you know, you make a decision to run for the Board of Education, I think that we have to always reflect back on why is it that we did what we did, you know. And sometimes for me, you know, you can get so far removed because there can be so much junk and stuff. It can be so much that you forget why you actually ran. And you know, this last term, I remember I was really struggling. I was struggling about running for the board because I didn't even put signs out until a week before the election. Because I didn't know and I couldn't get my name off the ballot. But I was really having a hard time. And I think the thing that kind of just turned it around for me was, why did you run for it in the beginning? And sometimes this work is hard work. Sometimes this work is ugly work. Sometimes there are great accomplishments and what have you. So finish your commitment. And so no matter what, when I'm making decisions, regardless of whether or not my colleagues, you all agree with it or what have you, as long as I can sleep with what it is that I'm saying or what it is that I'm doing, then I think I'll be all right. You know, but that's when I look at design on self be true, is just make sure that you do the self-examination work, make sure that you're doing what it is that you're supposed to do. For me.
All right, we'll move right along.
I feel like I was just
Leadership and self-deception. By the Arbiter Institute, self-deception is presented as a significant barrier to effective leadership and healthy relationships. This concept is explored through the metaphor of the box, which represents a distorted view of reality caused by self-deception and self-betrayal.
What is the box?
Self-deception leads to in-the-box thinking, where decision-making becomes clouded by self-betrayal. As a leader, you want to make the right choices, but don't leading to blame shifting and a lack of accountability. This perpetuates self-deception, leaving problems unsolved, goals unmet, and organizations at risk of failure. Self-justification keeps you trapped in the box. Instead of taking responsibility for mistakes or inaction, you make excuses, reinforcing a self-centered perspective. The outcome is a biased, narrow view of the world that distorts your leadership and judgment. Ethics plays a role in our decision-making, and our moral compass guides us as we go through the decision-making process. However, there are times when ethics are challenged, and you have to ask yourself, would I do this to be successful? There are things that we as people would never do because our ethical responsibility, morals, and values keep us in line. The foundation of our values is shaped by a wide range of influences, including parents and family, socioeconomic status, religion, race and ethnicity, education, cultural environment, and personal experiences. These factors work together to mold our beliefs, guiding our choices and actions throughout life. Integrity is often seen as a moral issue, but in Integrity by Dr. Henry Cloud, it's linked to performance and character. Cloud defines character as the ability to handle reality, and integrity is how well a person's character is integrated. Integrity reflects the whole person, combining traits like trustworthiness, honesty, achieving results, handling difficulties, seeking growth, and aiming for higher goals. If any of these traits are missing, both a person's character and integrity are weakened. The Community Toolbox outlines key components of ethical leadership, emphasizing the importance of prioritizing the organization's greater good over personal interests. Ethical leaders encourage ongoing discussion about ethical issues and decisions, create avenues for questioning authority, and maintain humility. They consider the impact of their decisions on others, minimize harm, and treat everyone inside and outside.
Do I do duplicate or just leave it?
The organization with fairness, honesty, and respect. Additionally, ethical leadership involves collaboration, clear communication, and cultural competence. Leaders should foster inclusivity, hold themselves accountable, continually improve their skills, and regularly reassess their ethical practices. They must also recognize when their leadership is no longer effective and be willing to step aside when necessary.
Okay, it says, how will you self-check your own ethics to ensure that you are not deceiving yourself or allowing bias to cloud your thinking? Trustee Rocket Martin.
I also bring my prior, my talk today.
Mm-mm.
I also look at my prior, bring my prior knowledge to make the decisions that I make. So that it's not just off the top of my head. It's with some depth. It may be things that have happened prior to. But I can also put it together with what decision that I have to make. It provides like a foundation or support to the decisions that I make.
All righty. Thank you.
Ethics are foundational to the role of school board members, guiding their decisions and actions in service to students and the community. Ethical leadership ensures that board members act with integrity, fairness, and transparency, fostering trust and accountability. When ethics are prioritized, decisions are made in the best interest of students, creating a supportive and equitable learning environment. This ethical approach is essential for driving student success and ensuring that schools operate with a clear commitment to doing what is right for all. According to Morgan Weitzel and the Ethical Leader, why doing the right thing can be the key to competitive advantage. Ethical leadership is explored as a key to building trust and gaining a competitive advantage. Weitzel outlined an ethical value chain that leaders should follow. This includes establishing an ethical foundation based on fairness, trust, and collaboration. Leaders should communicate values through authentic actions, lead by example, and motivate others to uphold those standards. Ethical performance must be evaluated by understanding the consequences of actions and resisting external pressures. Finally, leaders must ensure that their organization's ethical standards are consistently maintained.
I struggle to feel like I'm being true to myself.
What's so often model human decision makers as completely rational. According to this model, rational people know their own preferences, gather and accurately process all relevant information, and then make rational choices that advance their own interests. However, Ernst Simon won the Nobel Prize in economics by pointing out that people are rational, but only boundedly so. Well, in that they seldom gather all available information. They often do not accurately process the information that they do gather, nor do they necessarily know what it is that will make them happy. All rational, but boundaries.
With rationality, I think it's much easier with economic decisions because I'm not business students that make like number ethical issues. I mean, there's so much between it. The decisions can't be made the same way, just there isn't the basis of it.
In the last 50 years of psychological research has proven anything, it is that situational often dominates the dispositional. That is to say, our disposition or desire to be good can be overwhelmed by psychological or organizational factors that we may not even be aware of. These factors adversely impact ethical decision making as well as economic decision making. That people are boundedly ethical as well as boundedly rational.
I grew up Catholic and I studied so not really about that kind of the Catholic organization, but like church community. And I don't feel obligated to go.
January 28th.
Basic notion as spelled out by Professor Ann Tenbros with her colleagues is that systematic and predictable organizational pressures and psychological processes cause people to engage in ethically questionable behaviors that are inconsistent with their own preferences. Various factors cause us to make unethical decisions that we feel regret.
Okay, there are certain times that you will have your own ethics and morals kind of push a little bit for the sake of joining a group.
For example, although most of us want to act ethically, we also wish to place authority figures. Therefore, if our boss asks us to do something unethical, we may do it without even realizing it's mistake. Because we focus on the boss rather than on the ethical conditions of each basis. To take another example, we also have a national desire to be part of the team at work. Therefore, if a questionable action advances the team's interests as we perceive them to be, we may act unethically because again, focusing on achieving the team's goals rather than on adhering to ethical standards.
Our coach that, willing to, try to trip her, try to kind of hurt her more than she needs to be. When we get along with you're aggressive, we got this. But then like later on, if you really think about it, like there's no need to be more aggressive in soccer games.
Want that for certain we will, because we just know we're good people. But most of us are also overconfident regarding our own ethical. This can lead to complacency that causes us to make decisions that take ethical measures without reflecting. So we're ethical, it's true, but boundaries so. I recommend only if we truly commit ourselves to being ethical people and diligently guard against the organizational pressures and psychological factors that could balance upon our ability to be so, can we possibly realize our ethical potential.
I think humans are very irrational people.
I think situational factors do influence the decisions you make, whether it's ethical or not. To overcome them, you have to actually see that you're doing something wrong. You can't overcome something if you don't think you're not doing anything wrong.
You construct habits and societal sort of norms, and then you push back against those.
I think you have to think about, what is really important, like family, friends, and then just do the best you can without doing anything unethical, like hurting someone in a soccer game or cheating on a test just so that you can do well. Then that's gonna lead you, to be more happy if you were if you did do something.
Okay. Question 1. We as people are bound rationally when we do all of the following except seldom gather all available information, do not accurately process the information that is gathered, do not know what will make them happy, or make informed decisions based on the information available. So again, we as people are bound rationally when we do all of the following except
Not accurately process the information.
we as people are bound rationally when we do all of the following except. It has to be.
When that's right.
Make informed decision
Based on the information available.
available.
How can you make an informed decision if it's only if all the information is not there?
So when we as people are bound rationally when we do all of the following steps. Yeah, I think that's the answer.
You saying that
Correct.
Correct, we got it right.
So it's saying so basically what they're saying is you are not, you're bound irrationally, whether you're irrational or being rational, when you don't have informed decision making. Basically, so it was a reverse question. Yeah. Okay, next question. Systemic and predictable organizational pressures and psychological processes cause people to engage in ethically questionable behaviors inconsistent with their own preferences.
Can you read that again?
Systemic and predictable organizational pressures and psychological processes cause people to engage in ethically questionable behaviors inconsistent with their own preferences.
True.
True. Correct.
Say it again.
The answer question.
Yeah, what's the question?
Systemic and predictable organizational pressures and psychological processes cause people to engage in ethically questionable behaviors inconsistent with their own preferences. So basically,
Yeah.
pressures. Yeah.
What takes something? Yeah.
Okay, next question. What can lead to complacency that causes people to make decisions containing ethical dimensions without reflecting deeply? Arrogance, overconfidence, superiority, or insecurity? The question again, what can lead to complacency that causes people to make decisions containing ethical dimensions without reflecting deeply? The options are arrogance, overconfidence, superiority, and insecurity. Overconfident? I don't know.
Arrogance?
Arrogance?
Yeah.
You wanna go with arrogance?
Like all of those would go in.
Yeah.
All of them is not a question. Yeah.
I think we can only pick one.
Arrogance.
Okay, we don't. Insecurity.
Can we call a motion for a vote?
What can lead to complacency that causes people to make decisions containing ethical dimensions without reflecting deeply?
Ooh, that sound like arrogance or overconfidence.
So complacency is like you don't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, what can lead to complacency? That
You're like,
causes
no,
people,
No,
yeah,
so-
you arrogant, you could be arrogant.
Well, let's,
Insecurity is the opposite of the other
Yeah.
three,
Yeah.
and the other three are the same.
so let's go with insecurity, because they all is about the same thing. Arrogance, overconfidence, superiority are all kind of the same answer. Oh, incorrect. Try again. They won't tell us. Okay,
Arrogant.
let's go with
with
arrogance.
arrogant.
We gotta try.
Arrogance,
Arrogance.
confidence, and superiority are all.
Yeah,
Same thing.
Incorrect.
Confident.
Oh, no.
Fix,
We
fix, fix.
try.
Oh, well, let me go play
Okay,
that
let's
number.
do that again. Okay, this make informed decisions. You had that one right. Okay, continue. The next one was,
Is that true?
What was
What
that?
did we say?
we said this was true.
True.
Oh, Lord. Okay, continue. Now,
Now, it's
we
bad.
did arrogance,
We did
we did
arrogant.
insecurity.
So superiority.
Superiority,
That's probably the
I
answer.
don't know.
Thinking that.
Because you think-
Overconfidence, make you complacent.
Okay, try again. Overconfident?
Yeah.
That overconfident.
Okay.
We know what.
Okay. All right, great job, we passed.
Okay.
That's not-
That looks a lot better.
That's not ethical, you just laugh, we passed, we had put all that. We put all four of them in.
Pillars for responsible decision making. The moral imperative calls for doing what is inherently right, while the legal imperative ensures adherence to laws and regulations. The pragmatic imperative focuses on practical, results-oriented actions, and the perceptual imperative emphasizes how decisions are viewed and understood by others. Together, these principles guide school board leaders in making balanced, ethical choices that are both principled and effective.
So it says, will I get in trouble for this? Are my actions going to help our business become more efficient? Can this action build up my community? Will this be something I condone in others? All of these questions fall into one of the four ethical imperatives. These are questions we ask ourselves before making a decision or completing an action based on our own values. But what exactly are the four ethical imperatives? Click on each tab to learn more about the types of imperatives.
Go to the top.
We're ethical.
Moral. Moral.
Moral.
Moral imperative for school board members involves acting in the best interests of students and the community, guided by principles of fairness, integrity, and equity. It requires school board members to prioritize the well-being of all students and make decisions that reflect ethical responsibility and uphold a commitment to doing what is right, even when faced with difficult choices. By adhering to these moral values, school board members help build trust and foster a positive, inclusive learning environment.
Legal.
The legal imperative for school board members centers on ensuring all decisions and actions comply with local, state, and federal laws, as well as district policies. Board members are responsible for understanding the legal frameworks that govern education and for upholding these standards in areas such as student rights, school funding, and accountability. Adhering to the legal imperative helps safeguard the district from liability and ensure that operations are transparent, fair, and just. The pragmatic imperative for school board members emphasizes making practical, results-oriented decisions that advance the district's goals. It involves weighing options based on their effectiveness, feasibility, and long-term impact while ensuring resources are used efficiently. By focusing on what works best for students and the community, school board members can make informed, actionable choices that lead to meaningful improvements in education outcomes and district operations. The perceptual imperative for school board members involves understanding how their decisions and actions are perceived by the public, staff, and students. It emphasizes the importance of transparency, communication, and trust building. Board members must consider how their leadership is viewed and ensure that decisions reflect the community's values and priorities. By being mindful of perception, they can foster positive relationships, enhance credibility, and maintain public confidence in the board's ability to govern effectively.
Okay. So ethical imperatives. A board member is upset with the way the superintendent handled the announcement of the new athletics complex. Rather than contact the superintendent directly, the board member chooses to discuss the issue the next time they see the superintendent, which happens to be during the board's next public meeting. What type of ethical dilemma is this? Is it moral, legal, pragmatic, or perceptual? I would guess perceptual.
Perceptual imperative is doing the right thing because it is important for the people to know we are doing the right thing. This board member did not like how the announcement was made about the new athletics complex, and so he brought the issue to the public during the meeting. This board member wanted to ensure that the people could see evidence of its ethical standards and expectations on the decision made.
That's correct.
It's correct. It's their perception of how they wanted it now. It isn't necessarily a moral issue or a legal or a pragmatic, it's
The perceptual.
It's perception.
My question is, are they saying that this was ethically sound because of the value of transparency, or are they saying that it's a problem?
You don't wanna do it,
They say perception.
you know, you run into legal issues, you confront them in public, you know. So that was their perception. How do I address it? I didn't like it. How do I address it?
Then are they giving? And are they giving
they're not saying if it's right or wrong, they're just saying what type of challenge it was. Yeah.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Only if we truly commit ourselves to being ethical people and diligently guard against the organizational pressures and psychological factors that put bounds on our ability to be so, can we possibly realize our ethical potential. Ethics in leadership is crucial to building trust, accountability, and fairness within any organization. Leaders are expected to prioritize the well-being of the community, make decisions with integrity, and uphold the highest ethical standards. This is especially true for members of school board, whose decisions directly impact the education and development of future generations. The oath of school board office reflects a commitment to these principles, ensuring that leaders serve with honesty, fairness, and dedication to the public good.
What principles should affect school board decision making?
What principles should affect school board decision making? Is it going to move the district forward? Will it move the district forward?
How is it benefiting the children?
It's a principle.
I think that
They give us-
So it should be moral.
They give us-
Is that it?
No, this is just the first reflection in unit 3. We can put anything down.
the center.
Fairness, fairness, what's right for the community, what's right for the district.
I would say, policy.
Legal. Has to be legal.
Okay, we're gonna keep it moving and let them tell us. What are the behaviors of school boards as well as individual school board members that contribute to positive outcomes for students?
I think that's our norms.
Yeah. Like
So our
assuming
board
positive
norms.
intention.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
but we gotta say what they are. We don't have to.
Okay.
Following board norm.
doing your homework. Being informed.
Not being biased.
The governance standards were created specifically for local and intermediate school boards, as well as individual board members by school board members themselves. These standards serve as guiding principles for boards of education, helping ensure that their actions and decisions are rooted in accountability, transparency, and a commitment to the educational success of all students. Within the resource tab, you will find the Board of Education governance standards.
It's not, I can't. Okay, standard 1.
The Board of Education, in partnership with the superintendent and key stakeholders, develops and embraces a vision for the school district that prioritizes high expectations for student achievement and excellence in instruction. The Board of Education governs with dignity and earns the trust of the community it serves. By upholding high standards of integrity and accountability, the board ensures transparency in its decisions and prioritizes the best interests of students and families. Through open communication and engagement with stakeholders, it fosters a collaborative environment where diverse perspectives are valued. This commitment to ethical leadership strengthens community relations and promotes a culture of respect and excellence throughout the district. The Board of Education is accountable to the school district community, prioritizing transparency and responsiveness in its actions. By actively engaging with parents, students, and local stakeholders, the board ensures that the voices and concerns of the community are heard and addressed.
Madam President.
Accountability fosters trust and collaboration, enabling the board to make informed decisions that reflect the community's values and needs. Ultimately, the board's commitment to its responsibilities strengthens the educational environment and enhances the overall success of the district.
Madam President, can we pause right there?
Mhm.
I have a question. It says the Board of Education is accountable to the school district community. What does that mean to each of us, I wonder? Because I think our version of accountability is different.
But for this.
I mean, being ethical and being accountable.
Yeah, to our community.
Yes.
And what was the other one?
He's just wondering what is it mean, what do we think it means to be accountable to the school district community?
And so who's the school district community? Is it talking about the community? Because the school district has a community within itself.
Mhm.
So is this the question that they're asking? Are they saying to the community at large or to the school district community? Who makes up the school district community?
It's the teachers. This is saying to the school district community.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just asking for clarification.
Mhm.
I'm trying, and I looked at it, the reason, and see what the Board of Education is accountable to them.
Mhm.
So. So to the superintendent, to the staff, but number one, to the children.
Mhm.
That's the most important piece in the school community.
Looks like from the picture that they talked about in-house. Which you come down.
Yeah.
So to me, the school district community, that is an ecosystem that embodies the staff, the students, their parents and families, the taxpayers, right? And the businesses, but it's all of those who are impacted by our decisions. I think that is the community. And we have a responsibility to make sure that we're transparent, to make sure that we are considering the impacts of our decisions and how it impacts all of them. That's my, and make sure that they know what's going on and that we are also listening and making wise decisions, just being clear. That's what I think. Sometimes, we sit in this seat and we're like, oh, I'm just gonna make this decision because I think it's the best. But how can we get input from those who are impacted by our decision?
I'm coming. This is the thing. Right, the next one is, I'm sorry, guys, I'm trying to multitask. That's the sign-in sheet for training that they are doing.
The Board of Education holds the superintendent accountable for achieving the outcomes outlined in the school district strategic plan. By setting clear expectations and regularly reviewing progress, the board ensures that the superintendent effectively implements initiatives that promote student success and educational excellence. This collaborative oversight not only drives accountability, but also fosters a culture of continuous improvement within the district, ultimately benefiting students and the broader community.
So is it the Board of Education holds superintendent accountable for creating the outcomes identified in the school district plan? But that said, and what she said was some of the little bit.
Okay, jot down an example of an ethical situation witnessed at the board table.
Ethical,
Uh-huh.
I mean, good situation.
Or a situation.
I think when, you know, some of us, it could be tossed up. Well, let me stop. I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
Ethical situation.
And you don't comment. That's an ethical situation.
That's the ethical situation for you, not being able to respond to them.
Right, well, ethical means is right. But that's right. Ethical means is right.
Yeah,
We need to.
yeah.
So by us not responding, that's an ethical situation, because if we responded to everybody that came.
Well, I think, first of all,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
no,
Go ahead.
it'll be recorded.
Uh-huh.
It is. They see- I think people have to understand what the word ethical is. Because when you talk about ethical, or you're judging whether something is ethical as you go down through the process, and what we've seen thus far, it goes back to some of the tenets of what being ethical means. So when your intentions are not, when your intentions are pure, people might not understand it, people might not agree with it, but that's something, that's where that self-examination, because people do things to be deceitful and to be hurtful and to be harmful, you know, and they intend to do that. That's their intention, so you can't take it in that manner, you know, because one thing for me, from my perspective of the Christian, he don't look at things the way in which man looks at things. He looks at our heart and he looks at our intention. So if your heart was wrong, your intention was wrong, if your heart was right and your intention was right, then that's an example of being ethical.
How you know that at the board table? Yeah, I think she got to write something.
I want to address.
Say jot down. I thought we had gone to another.
I want to support what trustee Rocket Martin said. You know, if somebody from the public does speak, I know sometimes, you know, you can't respond to every person at that time, but I think the perception of not giving them an answer can make them feel that we're not being transparent or that we're not considering them. And so ethically, I think we have a responsibility, the district has a responsibility to respond at some point within a reasonable time to the public when they bring an issue to the board table, and not retaliate, but respond.
Another example that I would like to use, I've seen it happen multiple times. Sometimes there'll be an idea that's an amazing idea. And in other seasons where we haven't worked as well together, I've seen certain board members vote no to an item of discussion because of the person who was suggesting or advocating for. And I think that's probably there's probably the greatest one that I'm glad we've worked through. But I think that could be an ethical dilemma, because you know internally that it's a good idea, but you're choosing to vote no to it because of the person that's suggesting that we do.
I think an ethical situation is mostly when we have a family member that's applying for a job. or we're hiring our family member's manager. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, is it ethical to vote for them or separate yourself? I think that's more, or it's also ethical for us at the board table to presume positive intentions. Where sometimes we don't think that other board members have good intentions. I was talking to a board member the other day and I was telling them what I thought. And when we talked, she's like, she thought I was just, being evil. And it was positive intentions, but that's, I think being ethical also means having positive intentions and not presuming that somebody's out to get him or do something negative. It's making sure I'm recusing the votes when I need to, or being above board and say, I have a decision, this is my family member, I'm gonna abstain. And doing your due diligence.
Or just, I think it just goes back to doing the right thing.
When no one's watching.
Yeah, what you feel is right. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. I know for me, I do not take offense. Because everybody has their understanding of what it is. But as long as you know what it is for you. So I'm not going to be angry and respond and, I'm not doing that. Because as long as I know, because guess what? One thing for sure and two things for certain. Anybody at this table can do whatever it is that they want to do. You got to wake up with yourself. And in the end, regardless of all the things that come along with it, you got to answer to God. And so that's the most important, because I think that we've seen at this table that sometimes we have, even though it appeared in public that we were so far apart, there have been times at this table when we thought and we just had to say, I don't care, this is the right thing to do. And a lot of times we don't get credit for that, but I think we do it more than we give ourselves credit, more than people get an opportunity to witness and see.
We're gonna move on. Okay, so what would you do? Scenario one, a school board member walks into her son's school and requests a certain teacher for his child. Option A, remind the board member there is a code of ethics and requesting a specific teacher does not reflect well on the district. B, applaud the board member for taking action in their student's education. Option C, agree with the board member's action. She is on the board after all. And D, remind the board member that she is a parent first, then board member.
Option A.
What option A?
Remind the board member there is a code of ethics and requesting a specific teacher does not reflect well on the district.
And then one thing about I've learned from taking MSB class and hearing from other board members. A lot of times, if it's an issue, they'll usually try to defer it to another parent, so in that way it won't look like you're interfering. But if a serious issue comes up, then they'll interject. So if a teacher is retaliating, I heard one example was a teacher was retaliating. The band director got mad because the board made a decision and took all the band trophies down. So the daughter had to hurry up and call her dad, who was on the school board, and say, "Look, they're retaliating because y'all made a decision about something." So sometimes that line is kind of blurry, but sometimes you meant to interject.
You can't come to me because as a board member.
So A was correct. A was correct. There is a code of ethics all board members should follow. All right, continue. What would you do?
Madam President, so we have members on the Board of Education, we have children in the school district. And so for me, I wouldn't take it, if a person is coming in and saying, I want my child in this person class, I remember coming up, my mother wanted me to start having African-American teachers. You know, she wanted, it was important to her that I had African American teachers. And she went and requested it. Our president have two children in the school district. One of our trustees have a son in the school district. But if that, I don't see it. I know A is the correct answer, but I don't always see it like, because they're parents too. If they get off this board, they're parents. Before they got on this board, they were parents. And I think a lot of it depends on how it's done as well.
So for me, I'm very mindful of it. I know anytime I go in her school, even though I'm there as her mom, I'm President Robinson. So I go for, of course, parent-teacher related conferences and things of that nature, but her dad primarily went there most of the time. We rarely have an issue, but it is something that I'm cognizant of. And I thought everybody knew who my kids were, but my lack of presence in the school, some of their teachers did not know that I was their mother, and I wanted it that way because I didn't want them to be treated any differently than any other student, whether it was better or worse. So I mean, people figure it out eventually, but I choose to let them have their own identity in the school.
I feel like that question is too broad. You know, I feel like it's missing something. Like if you were saying I'm a board member, or if you were retaliating against a teacher or something like that. But I feel like if you have a child and maybe they want to be in band because that's their talent, or you know, you want to make sure they're in certain classes that fit their that fit their pathway. I think it's unethical as a parent to not, advocate for your child. Now, you shouldn't cross the line, and say, well, I have this power, or, over other parents, but,
beating your chest because you're on the board.
yeah.
People do come in like that because I'm on the board, you put my child in this and that and the other, I'm the president, I'm this, yeah.
Okay, next question. A board member openly criticizes a policy his board colleagues have passed, but that he voted against. Option A. What would you do? Option A, agree with the board member, the policy should not have been passed and opinions need to be taken into consideration. B, speak up, maybe the policy calls for a revote. Option C, remind the board member that the policy has passed, majority won. D, remain silent, the board member is going to act either way.
What is option C again?
The question was, a board member openly criticizes a policy his board colleagues have passed, but that he voted against. Option C was remind the board member that the policy has passed, majority won.
I would say that,
See,
yeah, you respect what democracy is, even though it could be ugly, or you may not agree.
D says remain silent, the board member is going to act either way.
go to what?
What do? You're an alternative board member. Do you remain silent because the board member is going to act either way? Do you remind that board member that the policy has passed, majority won? Do you speak up? Maybe the policy calls for a revote, or do you agree with the board member the policy should not have been passed and opinions need to be taken into consideration?
Let's see.
This feels like an overreach.
Congrats, your answer is correct. Express your personal opinions before the vote, but once the board has acted, accept the will of the majority.
That's one thing. When I first got on the Board of Education, it was always like a 5-2. And one of the things in the training, so if the majority selected, you can't do that. That's not right. Because sometimes you're gonna be on, you can't just pick and choose what it is that we learn at the association. Sometimes you're gonna be on the side where the majority, and then sometimes you'll be on the side where you're the minority, but you still have to suck it up and continue to do the work.
Okay, next question. A board member shares the challenges of negotiating the teacher contract, which were discussed in a closed session with her husband, who is the teacher in the district. Option A, agree with the board member that teachers have a right to know what is going on with the contracts. B, tell the board member that all teachers should know the challenges the board is facing. C, remind the board member to avoid conflicts of interest or the appearance thereof. Option D, stay out of it. This is a conversation between husband and
Option
wife.
C.
Oh, congrats, your answer is correct. You are representing the district and want to avoid conflicts of interest. You also want to refrain from using your board position to benefit family.
You can't do
The
that.
guiding principles for board members include advocacy, civility, courage, empathy, inquiry, integrity, respect for the board's authority, and selflessness. These principles emphasize the importance of actively supporting students' best interests, fostering respectful interactions, having the courage to tackle challenges, understanding community perspectives, engaging in collaborative problem solving, upholding ethical standards, and prioritizing the needs of others. By embracing these values, board members can effectively serve their communities and create a positive educational environment. Learn more about each of the 4 standards for individual board members by clicking on each of the 4 standards. Each individual school board member is driven by a commitment to prioritize the best interest of all students. They strive to make informed decisions that promote equity and foster an inclusive educational environment, ensuring that every student has the opportunity to thrive. By placing student welfare at the forefront, board members work collaboratively to support the diverse needs of the community they serve. Each school board member recognizes the value of lifelong learning and actively commits to it. They understand that continuous professional development enhances their effectiveness and equips them to better serve the needs of students and the community. By embracing new ideas and staying informed about educational trends, board members not only enhance their own skills, but also inspire others to prioritize growth and learning within the school district. This commitment to ongoing education fosters a culture of improvement that benefits the entire community. Each school board member appreciates and respects the authority and responsibilities of the Board of Education. They recognize that this role involves a commitment to governance, accountability, and stewardship of the educational mission. By upholding these principles, board members contribute to a collaborative and effective decision-making process that prioritizes the needs of students and the community. Their understanding fosters a culture of mutual respect and reinforces the board's integrity and effectiveness in achieving its goals. Each school board member approaches their governance responsibilities with a spirit of inquiry. They actively seek to understand the complexities of educational issues and are open to exploring new perspectives and innovative solutions. This commitment to questioning and learning fosters an environment where dialogue is encouraged, enabling board members to make well-informed decisions that benefit the entire school community. By valuing inquiry, they demonstrate a dedication to continuous improvement and responsiveness to the evolving needs of students and families. The 7 lenses of ethical responsibility, originally designed with a business focus, can be effectively adapted for use in the school environment to guide board members in their decision-making. These lenses enable school board members to make ethical decisions while considering all relevant aspects, enhancing their ability to communicate the rationale behind their choices. As stated in the 7 lenses, movement toward leadership for the greater good is the expected level of ethics in a global society.
Okay, so lens one is profit, lens two is law, lens three is character, lens four is people, lens five is communities, lens six is planet, lens seven is greater good.
Did you, President Robinson, did you say lens one is profit?
Lens one, profit.
And this is a business model?
Seven lenses of ethical responsibility.
Okay. And she said that, the speaker said that this was taken from a business model.
I think so. Hold on.
The 7 lenses of ethical responsibility, originally designed with a business focus, can be
Yeah.
effectively adapted for use in
Okay.
That's why that's why.
All right. And then movement towards leadership for the greater good is the expected level of ethics in a global society.
14 guiding principles of ethical leadership integrate the 7 lenses into daily decision-making and actions. Quadrant 1 focuses on leading with a moral compass. Quadrant 2 emphasizes bringing out the best in others. Quadrant 3 centers on leading with positive intent and impact. Finally, Quadrant 4 focuses on leading for the greater good. Together, these principles provide a comprehensive framework for ethical leadership that informs decision-making and promotes a positive impact on individuals and society. Click on each quadrant to learn more about the principles. Effective school board members embody 4 key principles. They demonstrate personal congruence by aligning their actions with their values, are morally aware by recognizing the ethical dimensions of their decisions, stay confident through continuous learning and understanding of educational issues, and model expected performance and leadership, setting a standard of integrity, accountability, and excellence for others to follow. Principles 5 through 9 emphasize the importance of fostering healthy relationships by respecting others and their boundaries, building mutual trust, engaging in open communication, and striving for effective and ethical performance. These principles create a foundation for collaboration and integrity, ensuring that interactions are positive and productive while maintaining a supportive environment. In Quadrant 3, Principles 10 through 12 advocate for ethical leadership by encouraging individuals to prioritize doing good while minimizing harm, and to seek solutions that benefit all parties involved. This approach fosters a culture of responsibility and collaboration, ensuring the decisions are made with a focus on ethical implications and the well-being of the community. For school board members, Principles 13 and 14 highlight the responsibility to safeguard the environment and enhance global society for future generations. This involves promoting sustainability initiatives within schools and advocating for educational practices that foster awareness and action on social and environmental issues. This ensures that students are prepared to contribute positively to a healthier planet and a more equitable world.
Write down one key takeaway or goal you have for yourself related to personal values or ethics. Keep them intact. I'm just gonna say, keep them intact always.
And be able to sleep at night.
Yeah. Be who you say you are.
They really don't even look at what you put in there.
Take a break.
Okay, so we gotta take, okay,
Are they saying we're done?
okay. So we got a ethical dilemma, we gotta pass these questions.
I saw it. They gonna talk about who is the back of the gas.
Right.
I talked to the board being here.
No, but I'm so sorry for that poor guy that the ball stolen away from him.
Oh, yeah, but we all get over things like that. You know, I'm just glad that the four of us could get together and go to the game. It's nice to get to visit outside of the board meeting. You know, I feel like I know each of you a little bit better.
Yeah, no angry parents, no pressure, no tough decision. We really need to do this more often.
But you know, we probably lost that game if Mark would have come back in. So pumped up. Did you notice that? You notice the assistant coach giving him that pep talk? I gotta tell you, I'm worried about Dr. Wilson's proposal that we cut 3 assistant coaches next year.
You're supposed to do it, right? You can't do that.
President Robinson, I need to take this back.
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole week, all the thing together.
I just get one of those questions. I don't know.
Why this?
They're gonna add more to the on that.
Won't keep going?
How much longer we got to go?
It's almost over.
I mean, I'm really enjoying this, but how long?
Oh, you would have died at
We almost done.
no, you would have
Yeah,
died
we
at
almost done.
midnight.
I just can't get it
We
to,
take midnight that one time.
I was still.
huh?
No, what happened?
Something wrong,
Yeah.
but we do.
Is it doing
Wait,
that?
question one.
Okay,
Good question.
yeah, click on
Go ahead,
it.
the question.
Good question.
Okay, it says,
So it stopped right there.
Okay.
okay, here we go.
One of the board members has just started
We know
talking
it's number
about
3.
your superintendent's proposal to cut funding to athletic. You're not in agreement to tell the other board members how happy you are the team won. You agree with your fellow board member and talk about other place funding can be cut.
3.
Mind the board, this is not the time or place.
Not the time.
Okay, right.
Well, I just thought everyone to.
Yeah. The point is, if we cut the assistant coaches, there might not be anybody to motivate Mark like that. I don't know if this position is one of the Dr. Wilson wants to cut.
That's the
But I'm
reason.
opposed to it if that's the case.
All right, I'm with Andy on this. We're gonna have to make cuts. And we are going to. I don't think those are the positions that I would take out of the budget. I'm sure we've got some office staffers or some cafeteria workers that can go first.
I'll tell you, nobody likes cafeteria food anyway. I know Ted wants us to leave it all to Dr. Wilson, but we all know that's a mistake. Bill, you agree with me, don't you? And Monica and Hazel, what do you think?
You doing
Too much. You gotta bang that gavel.
Okay. Question 2. Your fellow board member asks what you think. 1, agree we have to do something. 2, suggest talking to your superintendent first. 3, recommend talking about something else.
Number 3.
3.
Hazel, what do you think?
It's not come down to instructional staff or non-instructional staff.
Oh, Lord, she done kept
We
going.
needed to find about $250,000 in payroll savings, didn't
I
we?
got nervous.
Instructional staff, that's what I did for.
Then I think we ought to go to Dr. Wilson and tell him that we want the cuts to come from non-instructional staff, period. I volunteered to do it, but Bill, you've got a lot better relationship with him. Would you tell him what we've decided?
Are we even supposed to be talking about this?
No, you're too late now.
You had a whole quorum.
We can't ignore Dr. Wilson, not to mention the cafeteria staff have any idea that we're even thinking about this. I don't feel good about it.
Girl, you already. in
You
trouble.
not
Right.
ready, yeah.
Right.
You should've
You're so
known.
late.
Question 3. Okay. Hazel is unsure if you and the other board members should even be talking about budget cuts. What would you say?
Number
Agree
2.
with Hazel, but finish out your conversation. 2, agree with Hazel. This is a violation of Open Meetings Act. 3, disagree with Hazel. We are a majority and we decide policy.
2.
Mhm. And.
Here, our majority, we know what we want. There's some more evidence tonight that we're right. Now, it comes down to us to decide the basis of how the cuts are made. It is our policy. And we want the cuts to be made to non-instructional staff, right?
I would agree with that.
And I don't know why we just don't go to Dr. Wilson and tell him what we want. I don't want to save all that embarrassment of us sniping at his proposal in a public meeting, and it'll save us a whole lot of time.
I don't know about that, Andy.
Oh, I can see the endless conversation we're gonna have at that board meeting, huh? Ted on one side, the rest of us on the other. We're doing Dr. Wilson a favor if we decide now, so it doesn't waste time preparing the presentation we're gonna shoot down anyway.
Right, question 4. Okay, Andy points out that the cuts need to be made to non-instructional staff and that making the decision now will save time and embarrassment. What do you think? 1, tell Andy and other board members that you just can't be a part of this conversation and walk away. 2, remain silent but listen to the proposal. 3, agree with Andy. This will save time. So it's number 1.
Yeah. We gotta go to jail in a minute. Somebody take a video. Oh, y'all wait.
I've been looking at the people in the background recording.
Maybe Ben Harvard.
Be on live. We couldn't never. You already know.
Wants us to be making this decision in a basketball game.
Hazel, you should have already walked off, honey. They not listening.
No, that one over in the corner with that black ain't fit nuts. You gonna turn them in.
She gonna write them up.
Some cake standing for what we believe. Huh?
We are the majority. The troublemaker, right?
Question 5. Okay.
Do I need to sign something?
Question 5, Andy reminds you that this is a policy decision, one determined by the majority. Is it okay to stand up for what you believe? Absolutely, and it starts here. Yes, but there's a time and place for it. And at a basketball game, isn't it? Yes, and maybe we should bring this decision to the superintendent first. 2. Correct. We passed.
We through?
Yeah.
Done? We're
Hold
done?
on, let's see.
Okay, we're done. Right.
Sorry. It's one, that's the last unit.
And as an inspiration to others. And communicate advantage to organizations.
We need to see the
So
agenda.
as to promote ethical action. So, honestly, effectively communicate and manage an organization's culture and ethical action. Yeah, back then, leaders, by example. And that sort of setting it down.
As far as with morals, I think somebody who has, respect for other people, the most important attribute of being an effective leader is cultivating that self-awareness.
They know they are responsible for other people. Well, let's establish their organization's ethical norms. They must ask, what does our organization stand for? They should set high expectations. Leaders must also effectively communicate to others both the contents of those ethical norms and the intensity of the organization's commitment to upholding.
Set expectations, express what you want done, what you expect, how you expect it to be done. It's a lot easier for people to meet your standard and to meet your expectations, and they know
The careful drafting with input from others in their organization of a code of ethics can be helpful. And leaders must implement employment practices consistent with these overall goals. Of course, they must hire their people and punish them to violate the organization's ethical norms. Just as important, they must reward those whose conduct embodied the organization's ethical standards.
Most frustrating experience I said as a young employee is working for a leader.
Oh, sorry.
Involved in the gray area that doesn't really give you a fun answer about everything. You know, it's easy to say what you're doing, but you actually need to, you know, talk the talk. And walk the walk, that's what I like to say.
We can all agree that you have these core values in your company and maybe you're supposed to have them all, but if you never have to talk about it and figure out how it relates to your actual day-to-day work, then it's all wrong.
Leaders must also of the cognitive and the psychological shortcomings, situational factors, and social and organizational influences that can cause people to make irrational and self-defeating decisions in all areas of their lives. It turns out that leaders can use psychological knowledge to nudge employees to act more ethically. So, leaders should keep in mind, people are more likely to steal from their firms or mistreat their firm's customers if they feel as though they themselves have been mistreated. So treating employees fairly is an extremely critical part of cultivating an ethical workforce.
As a leader, it's your responsibility to put others ahead of you sometimes. People care over things at night, and if they do that, then they're not gonna sleep, they're gonna feel awful. They may quit or they may go somewhere else. You want them to be very happy and to feel very good about what they're doing on a constant basis.
Leaders must explain the reasons for taking the actions that they take, or that helps employees accept decisions, even if they disagree with them. Also, studies show that employees are more likely to act unethically if they are exhausted. Something overworking employees. These people possess people tend to act less ethically if they are under extreme time pressure. This is another reason to be reasonable in placing demands upon employees. Professor Margolis and Leslie studied several organizations and found that some wisely built into their processes time for pauses and second looks.
So in terms of competitive environment, there's incentives to be number one or incentives to be at the top of your class or at the top of sales or whatever the case may be. And because of those incentives, people will do whatever they need to do. People want great jobs, people want to make a lot of money, people want to be successful, and so they're willing to do whatever they can to get to that point.
Employees naturally focus on goals that are set for them by superiors. If unrealistic goals are set, especially those that carry punishments for failing to meet them, or extravagant rewards for exceeding them, then employees will tend to lose focus on the ethical aspects of their actions. They will concentrate entirely on meeting the goal. Realistic goals and moderate rewards for meeting them are a good combination.
Really having a set follow-up schedule in terms of making sure that everyone's on the same page from an ethical perspective is hugely important. Whether you're scheduling monthly meetings that just go over how things are going with your employees, who knows, maybe your employees are scared of you or what have you. You know, it really takes that extra, in my opinion, that personal touch to connect with your employees and make sure that, you know, they really understand what they're doing from an ethical perspective.
You may not have considered this, but the evidence is clear that people are more likely to act unethically if they find themselves in a dirty or cluttered workplace, or if they find themselves in a dimly lit space. Cleanliness and good lighting can go a long way toward fostering ethical behavior.
I worked at a company that was, very athletic and it was definitely an open space. It was an office without cubicles, we were in a big building and there were less employees and no cubicles. So that just encouraged more conversations and more interaction. I think that just kind of told me about the character of my company and my fellow employees.
Finally, studies show that employees will tend to act more ethically if they are frequently reminded of the importance to the firm of living up to its espoused values. Effective leaders create legends that illustrate their commitment to the firm's culture. For decades, Governor Arthur Anderson was the most admired accounting firm in the world, in part because its employees believed in the origin story of how founder Arthur Anderson owned a large client that there was not in Chicago to use him to budget the numbers. Unfortunately, the leader Spanish forgot this lesson and started emphasizing revenue over character, which is why the firm no longer exists.
How you treat each other, how you treat the customer, how you treat the world around you. What is important is that at the end of the day, is the dollar important? Is it about that corporate social responsibility, that buzzword everybody's talking about? Is it making sure the community that you work in benefits from your work as much as you do? Recognizing those effects that we have on the world around us and taking responsibility for them. If we don't, that's going to affect the corporate culture. If you do, then it's going to create a corporate culture that people respect from the inside and from the outside.
While there is no single correct way to create and foster an effective organizational culture, committed leaders will benefit by keeping these points in mind. If I remember that all their actions send messages. Yeah.
By example, you have to show what you want done and how you want it done based on your own actions. That way, even in the cases where you're not around, they can say, okay, well, so and so.
I would also say that reinforcing the ethics upon those who work for you is hugely important. So the organizational culture that supports that feeling, it supports thinking before action, and significantly raise the possibility of more ethical and moral decisions.
If you really want to build a company where people are going to rally behind a shared set of values, you have to make people talk about it and relate it to their day-to-day work.
The earlier we understand what those are, I think would help to develop a culture that where it's not so hard to make the right decisions.
I think we just about done. Waiting on the. Let us go. Okay. Write down 3 values for elected officials.
Integrity.
Transparency.
Okay. Integrity, transparency.
Honesty.
You have a third. Equity. All right.
It's about honesty.
Check out the classes below to continue your learning in ethics or achieve your leadership certification.
Evaluation. All right,
Two, seven.
2 through 7. Okay, I recommend about an 8. Thank you for your dedication to Michigan students. Exit 4. All right. Okay. Okay, so the only other thing that I had, I ain't gonna go on my email, ain't no telling what's in there at the top of my email before about. The only other thing that I had at the top of I had attached to this was some of our policies that speak to ethics, just so that we have them readily accessible. Thought they would be good to I'm not gonna go over all of them, but I do want to reference, what is today? 27th.
27.
Okay. Okay, so in our policy. Sure will. Okay, so in alignment with CBA 227, ethical challenges, below are examples of Benton Harbor Area Schools bylaws and policies that speak to ethics and conflicts of interest. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list. So for board member ethics and conflict of interest bylaws, we have 0144.2 board member ethics, 0144.3 conflict of interest for the board, and then 0167.1 voting. It specifically mentioned being integral with your votes, but also if you are unable to vote due to a conflict of interest, of course, you're expected not to. And in order to abstain, you have to notate the reason why you are abstaining if it's a conflict of interest. There's also conflict of interest policies pertaining to staff ethics, conflict of interest for admin, conflict of interest for professional staff, and conflict of interest for support staff. And then there's policies pertaining to employment of staff, speaking to like board having relatives and things of that nature, also interest in applying for positions. And then we also have conflict of interest policies relating to purchasing and grants. Like 6110 grant funds, 6320 purchasing, 6325 procurement, federal grants and funds. And 6420 is conflict of interest with legal counsel, advisors, or consultants. So that is attached to your agenda. I would like for you all to peruse those because I just did a quick search of ethics and conflict of interest and pulled about 14 relevant policies. So I just wanted to make sure I align those to everyone. And then up next, we have board member announcements and comments. Dr. Russ, you didn't have one today? Okay. Any board member like to make a comment, closing comment? Trustee Doyle?
I would like to thank everyone for coming out and watching. I would also like to give a big shout out to our girls track team who will be going to state. Go Tigers.
Okay, trustee Gavin.
Want to thank everybody who came out virtually and who will review this. I think it's important for us to make a clear statement to staff that there has been no board vote to eliminate their jobs. It's so important for that job security to be there. And there has not been a final decision. That decision comes through the board via a majority vote. Just because there is a recommendation doesn't mean that that is the case. There is a process. And I would also encourage my colleagues to not be hasty in making that decision without first connecting with our new leadership and finding out what their vision is for the district. We have a wealth of people who have a wealth of knowledge and experience and know the community, know the children, know the families. I think it is super important to keep them on board, to encourage them to continue to advocate for the district, to keep them with us. This is not an emotional plea. This is a logical plea, in terms of us making sure that we do not create any chaos, because when you make rash decisions to eliminate large numbers of people without having that clear plan and leadership in place, that's exactly what you have there. So I think we have an amazing opportunity to encourage our folks to just show that Benton Harbor area schools is the best choice. And to highlight all of the positive things that we have. We have driver's education as a part of our course now. We have an engineering CTE course. We have a robotics program. We have, diverse libraries. We have so many different things. We have students, I believe students who are able to rebuild computers or something like that. We have, this new program, high tech program, 21st century program in which 50 staff will be able to get certified in AI technology. I may not be saying that exactly right, but there's so many positive things that's happening in Benton Harbor. And of course, we just have a cultural aspect that's second to none. So I would just say, I hope that we would encourage just keeping our space together, keeping our folks together. I'll say this one last thing. Benton Harbor never lost students because we made decisions to not do mass cuts. That's never been the case. Whenever we lost, it's because we've closed schools and done different things of that nature, and people have moved on. But when we keep that consistency in place, when we keep that consistency in place, hold those people accountable to do their best work, evaluate them, make sure they have mentors, make sure they have the resources to do their jobs, and make sure that we're maximizing their efforts and rewarding them, then you have, the recipe for success. So I just want to encourage us to keep that in mind and to be at the Peace Walk June 5th at any of our schools, but I'm recommending the high school because that's the one that's the public one. June 5th, 9:30 to noon. I think it'd be an opportunity to celebrate all the positive things we've done together.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Tomorrow, the high school has a convocation. Tomorrow at the high school. Do you know what time? Can you remember the time?
11.
Mm-mm.
He said 11.
At 11 o'clock, yes, so we can keep that in mind. We know we have our seniors that are getting ready to graduate next Friday. So congratulations to those guys. And I also like to we just like to ask our Benton Harbor community to just keep praying for our school district and keep praying that we keep moving forward and that all of the things that Trustee Gavin said, we are doing great and marvelous things in our district. And we want those things to continue, even though Dr. Butts may or may not be at our helm. We would like those things that were started under his leadership to continue. So with that being said, I'm done.
All right. Treasurer Riley.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be very brief. First, thank everyone for watching virtually. Had a little article that was done. I'm on another board that involves truck driving. Had a chance to go to Washington, D.C., and I know a few of you saw that. Other thing I want to say is everything I said, I stand by it. There need to be some changes made. We have to lead with integrity. I'm glad that we had this class on ethics. This is said it before, this is a multi-million-dollar business. And if we can't lead with integrity, we can't lead ethically, then we need to think about some changes. I'm still seeking for a resignation from one of our members for some actions that was taken. But with that being said, you all have a good night.
Secretary Triplett.
One thing, first of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you to the board for the work that you do. A lot of times it's thankless. I think this was an amazing workshop tonight. And you know, one thing that we have to do, we have to respect people's opinion. And some words have multiple meanings. So we have to put them in context when we use them in correspondence. It was so good to see, that we did so well when it came to being able to identify when the picture that they showed with the group, the board members at the basketball game, everybody was clear on what was ethical and what was the right thing to do. I think one thing that's important, and a lot of times we struggle with it because we don't have the opportunity to give up on our kids. We don't have the opportunity. That's not a choice of ours. And so we have to decrease so that they might increase. And people can say with their mouths that they care about our kids. They really can. And I mean, and there's a lot of people, we got all kind of slogans, children first, and they're the last thing on the when we get through with sometimes with these decisions, you can't even see the kids. They're so stacked up under. I am grateful for the 7 norms of collaboration, where I'm gonna close out because I know when the enemy is attacking. I do. And I just feel so good that I'm growing. And so I'm just looking forward to the next steps for Ben Harbor area schools. I know we said a lot about the new administration coming in, but there's some wonderful things that our current administration has done for Ben Harbor area schools. And so we just want to make sure that in all of it, nobody's perfect, but in all of it, we're fighting. We're fighting for the success of Ben Harbor schools. And I don't care what anybody think. I close with this. I do not care what anybody thinks. My stripes have never, ever, and I mean that from the bottom of my soul, Ronaldo triplet, stripes have never, ever changed. Because tigers are predators, and we are never the prey. Y'all have a great evening, and I'm excited about next steps. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Very excited.
Vice President Bowens.
Thank you, Madam President. You're hearing some of this stuff, you think we have some January 6th stuff going on, but I want to talk about a season of change, a season of transition. I know firsthand that transition can be very uncomfortable and even difficult. It's natural for us to feel uncertain or frustrated when things don't go our way. But let me be clear, just because things don't go out the way we want, doesn't mean it's unethical, wrong, or a problem. Sometimes setbacks are part of the process of progress. My own family started in a pickup truck coming up from Tangipahoa, Louisiana, a story of resilience and hope. My family moved out east and they laid the groundwork for my path. My mom started at Hall and Bard schools. I began my education all around, being blessed to be an Army brat. Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Syracuse, New York, Chesterfield, Michigan, and St. Clair Shores. It wasn't until I went to Calvin Britton Elementary School where I experienced my first Black principal, Larry Gavin, or my first Black teacher. Moments that showed me what leadership and representation truly look like. Then I continued my journey at McCord Renaissance and Benton Harbor High School, learning that perseverance and faith in our community is vital. Our children deserve better, and we deserve better. Change doesn't happen overnight. And it's not always easy, and it doesn't always happen how we envision it. And that's okay. It's part of the process. What matters is that we keep moving forward, just like a car. When we put that car in drive, we go forward. When we put it in reverse, we go backwards. As Benton Harbor Area Schools and Benton Harbor Board of Education, I encourage you to drive ahead with purpose and resolve. Leadership and integrity require responsibility and consistency. We must hold ourselves accountable if we want real progress. We must not get caught up in fear or threats. Instead, we should be bold, optimistic, and excited about the possibility of what Benton Harbor can be. Our future is bright because of our resilience, our community, and our unwavering belief in progress. I believe in Benton Harbor Area Schools. I believe in our students, our teachers, and our family. I trust in democracy and the power of our voices to shape a better future. But trust and respect go both ways. We must respect each other's journey, even when they're different from our own, and stay committed to the bigger goal, a stronger and better Benton Harbor Area Schools. So let's stand firm. Let's stay focused. Just because things don't go exactly as planned or because setbacks happen does not mean we are wrong or unethical. Sometimes it simply means we are on to the path to something greater. We are capable of greatness if we stay united, resilient, and accountable, and hold that tiger pride loud and bleed orange and black. Thank you. Your Vice President, Trenton Bowens.
Thank you. I will be very short and brief. Thank you all for coming this evening. Thank you for your patience as we work through the meeting as well as our training. I enjoyed it. And that is it. I appreciate you all. I came in as Madam President. I leave as Madam President, and I will be Madam President until the Lord determines otherwise. So if there's no other discussion for this evening, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second or support? Support. The motion has been made by VP Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin. Questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett.
I had one. Some came to me, as I sat here and thought and reflected on what I heard. I did have one, but I'm gonna pass. I'll hold that
Okay.
for another meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. That was Bowens and Gavin.
Uh-huh.
All right, thank you. And I appreciate you, Madam President,
Thank you.
the President of the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education, and Vice President.
Thank you. Can we give it up to Deshauna, please, because she has had grace. Look at her jacket is hot. Deshauna, stand up and show them your jacket. Madam President, stand up, please.
I don't know if that's appropriate for the board,
I'm
Tate.
requesting you.
I like it. Let me see that.
Madam President, our forever president.
Good job.
Let's adjourn now. We gotta take a vote.
Yes, I'm ready. Good.
Are you waiting on me?
Yes.
My ears are still ringing.
From the bells.
Bells always come up on me and it rang about 7 times. All right, we're gonna close. We get late. President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley. Treasurer Bradley. Okay, Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, meeting adjourned as of 11:15 PM.